son.
What is going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us for another edition of LTMB Live. It's been a long day. It's been I'm already messing up over here. It's been a long day. Been a long couple days. Of course, the yesterday was the House Judiciary Committee's first impeachment hearing. So we're definitely going to take some time in going through that. We have a few video clips, more than a few video clips to show you. But again, we appreciate you being here with us. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope Live. So hello to everybody out there. Have a few things to do, clean up, just to get ready for this. Like I said, it's been a long day, and I just want to make sure that all of these clips are ready for you. So, what's going on, Mike? Go ahead, fill this time. Go ahead, fill it up, because I got some stuff.
Oh, word, that's what's up. Apparently, Hillary Clinton said some things about Bernie Sanders.
Did she ever?
I haven't heard them yet. I saw it go past my feed, but I didn't have time to watch it. I was busy. I was driving, so I couldn't look at it. So I never got a chance to see it or listen to it. You said there were clips, so it was actually video of it?
Well, there was...
Anybody see
I didn't see the video. I heard the audio. So she was on the Howard Stern program, and she was actually there. She was, in his studio, whatever. But they talked about a lot of different things. But one of them was about Russians. They talked about Russian involvement, and she was like scared of or concerned about further Russian interference and this and that. And it got brought up how. The Russians were trying to push Bernie, and yeah,
really, I did well,
and
they weren't doing a very good job. I tell you that.
Yeah, I know.
So we need to talk to Russians about that. Like, next time do a better job with Bernie.
Right. And so I think Howard Stern was asking her if he's the enemy, is he the bad guy? Do you hate Bernie? And she said, no, I don't hate anybody, this and that. But she did say he hurt her. He hurt her, and she said that Bernie Sanders should have came out earlier in favor of her and in support of her to endorse her for president, and that's why he hurt her, because he didn't. And she hopes that he doesn't do it again.
Well, she ain't there
in 2020. No, not to her. She hopes he doesn't do it for whoever the Democratic nominee is going to be, because we don't need that. One time was enough. I think that's what she said. One time was enough.
She hopes that Bernie doesn't do it. But, we still really haven't established, or she still hasn't established how Bernie actually hurt her other than just running against her.
Yeah.
Actually, Bernie Sanders dealt with her with kid gloves.
He could have went much harder. And that's what we stated.
Yeah, I know. We was mad at him for not going harder. So he actually laid off.
Not on personal attacks. Not on personal attacks. On the issues.
Personal attacks, man. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I kind of want to stay away from it for now, because I don't want my
Yeah.
blood pressure to go up.
It's about that bullshit, straight up, man. It definitely is about that bullshit. It's pretty whack.
If we might talk about it later in the show, because I know some people might bring it up as the show goes on in the chat. But I haven't.
But it's funny that she wanted him to come out earlier in favor of her campaign, of her candidacy, because remember when she ran against Barack Obama? Do you remember when she ran against Barack Obama? And you remember when there was some belief that, okay, well, it was all said and done, she should drop out. And she was like, nah, you dropping out? What you talking about? I want another debate.
But Obama won, right?
Yeah, he won.
So Hillary Clinton not endorsing Barack Obama early didn't hurt him.
No.
But what was she expecting Bernie Sanders to do? Like, while he's still running? Like, while he's still in the mix, while he's still in the field?
Yes.
Like, while his campaign is still, like, working.
Yep.
People who are still working for him. He still has an active campaign. He still has active offices.
Ended it. He should have ended his campaign and came out for her because, just like the AP said, before the California primary, she had the super delegate, so it was over. So, he should have seen that on, that right on the wall. And,
gosh,
just stop.
Like, we already don't like this chick, right? We already don't like her. But man, like,
yeah, we don't like it too much.
I thought it already reached its peak.
Yeah.
But she's so insufferable that.
Yeah, man, she doesn't stop talking.
She doesn't stop.
She really doesn't.
It's not that she doesn't stop talking. It's just it's like she takes it further.
Yeah, and the foolishness keeps coming out. I don't mind that she's talking. Really, I don't mind that she doesn't go anywhere. She's still a
political figure.
Yeah,
she's a major.
Still has a lot of
figure.
support. If you want to keep talking, go ahead. But when you keep selling this idea that Bernie did you wrong, and it wasn't really you, it wasn't your fault that you lost the 2016 election to Donald Trump of all people. Not your fault. It was Bernie's fault. He hurt you.
He hurt you. He hurt you. Even though he kind of, not just kind of, he did. He attended 41 campaign events on your behalf. 41.
Flew around the country to support you. Up on stage before the convention. He was on stage before the convention and supported you. Said, I want everybody to endure, or I want everybody to support Hillary Clinton. It's important that Hillary Clinton becomes the next president. This was before the convention.
And this is what Hillary Clinton's number one fan said about Bernie Sanders. Not just her number one fan. I think it's safe to say that she is like the leader of the fan club, and that's Rachel Maddow.
Yeah.
It's funny that we're talking about this because I was going through some of my old screen caps and my old photos, just deleting stuff, and I came across this at random, and I was like, you know what? I need to put this back on the top. You know what I'm saying? Because this shit right here kind of debunks, Hillary Clinton's sentiments. And she said, and I've got to say too, this election has been a lot more fun now that we're on the same side. Now, who are we talking about here?
Gotta be Obama.
No. And I want to thank Bernie for everything he's done. He's crisscrossing our country, energizing people, getting folks off the sidelines, and engaged in politics.
Well, see, things feel differently when you lose, though. When you lose, you start to point the finger.
That's what your girl said that.
Just you kind of have to reflect.
We're on the same
but see, you have to kind of reflect on what happened when you lose. Well, like when you're good and you win, you're like, okay, everything's good. Like we don't got to talk about nothing. But then you lost, and you're like, you know what? Why I lose? Bernie.
So what you really mean to say is deflect.
Yeah.
Deflect.
Much more like deflect.
More like deflect.
All right. I think we're good here. Like I said, this impeachment process has been very stressful and very It's been complicated. It's been complex. It's been, it's taken a lot just to pay attention to everything that's going on, to look at all the hearings and just take in all the information. And we have to make sure that we do that, because if we don't, then we won't have the facts to be able to speak about these things intelligently. And, if we don't know what's going on, that we're not going to speak on it.
Piece things together, offer an objective analysis.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Without holes.
Right. So let's dive into it. Okay. So yesterday on Wednesday, the House Judiciary Committee held its first impeachment inquiry hearing, and there were a few witnesses, a few individuals that testified. I actually don't want to really call them witnesses. They were not witnesses. They're not fact witnesses. These were constitutional experts, professors at law schools. So we had Noah Feldman from Harvard, Pamela S. Carlin from Stanford, Michael Gaillard from North Carolina, and then we also had Jonathan Turley from George Washington University. So the first three that I named were called by the Democratic Party, the majority party. Jonathan Turley was called by the minority party, Republican Party. So he was their expert. So we're going to dive right in. Okay, so we're going to go to, a few opening remarks. And the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee is Doug Collins, the Republican. And he begins in this clip, he talks about how he doesn't believe that the witnesses or the experts that were called to testify before the committee on Wednesday were really in the know about everything. Didn't really have a lot of time to digest all the information, and so it really wasn't a good idea for them to be there at that time. And Professor Carlin took some offense to that.
What do we have here today? What is really interesting over today and for the next few weeks is America will see why most people don't go to law school. No offense to our professors. But please, really, we're bringing you in here today to testify on stuff that most of you have already written about, all four, for the opinions that we already know, out of the classrooms that maybe you're getting ready for finals in, to discuss things that you probably haven't even had a chance to read. Unless you're really good on TV or watching the hearings for the last couple of weeks, you couldn't have possibly actually digested the Adam Schiff report from yesterday or the Republican response in any real way.
Today, you're being asked to consider whether protecting those elections requires impeaching a president. That is an awesome responsibility. But everything I know about our Constitution and its values, and my review of the evidentiary record, and here, Mr. Collins, I would like to say to you, sir, that I read transcripts of every one of the witnesses who appeared in the live hearing, because I would not speak about these things without reviewing the facts. So I'm insulted by the suggestion that as a law professor I don't care about those facts. But everything I read on those occasions tells me that when President Trump invited, indeed demanded, foreign involvement in our upcoming election, he struck at the very heart of what makes this a republic to which we pledge allegiance.
So you could tell Professor Carlin had a little fire to her, very unafraid to push back at the notion that she was not informed about the previous hearings and all of the testimony that was given by multiple witnesses. And I thought it was a very offensive comment by Doug Collins. He's saying that no offense. First of all, he said no offense that people are going to
You're going to witness why,
something.
most Americans don't go to law school.
Right.
Basically,
no offense to you, law professors, but this is why most people don't go to law school.
Yeah, you are why. But
Yeah.
no offense to you guys. Y'all the perfect example of why most Americans, or just most people in general, don't go to law school.
Just because you put no offense at the beginning of your comment doesn't really mean that it's not offensive.
You know why most people don't go to law school? Because it's expensive. And it's hard.
Yeah, it's difficult.
Difficult.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of years to get that degree. It doesn't just take your regular 4. You have to pass the bar as well. We're not talking about an easy process.
But the thing is, the the Republicans have their expert there too.
They do.
So if the 3 experts that were there to explain why Trump should be impeached and why those actions are impeachable, if they, I guess, according to Collins, didn't have enough time to digest all the information in regard to the impeachment inquiry, then wouldn't the same apply to Turley as well? Why is he there giving his opinion?
Right.
Also, he seems to point to something that makes them qualified to be there. He said something like, "Oh, things you've always written about, things you've already written about," meaning like constitutional law.
Well, and what's going on during the hearings. That's what he meant as well. So that's
He's
suggesting
contradicting.
that they know exactly what's been going on. But I guess they don't know everything. And he was saying that too, the reports, the Democratic report and the minority Republican report had just came out a day earlier. So it was not enough time for you to fully digest it.
But it's a summation, though, of
It
what
is.
we already know, which he
Right.
kind of alluded to.
Right.
Things that we already know.
Right.
I'm like, so why do you think constitutional experts who are law professors wouldn't know those things? It would probably be like conversations that they would be having,
Yeah.
either with colleagues or students, considering like the gravity of it and who
Of course.
is like the central figure, which is Donald Trump.
Of course. All right. So we're not going to, I guess, discuss all of the openings of all of the experts that were there yesterday. We're going to skip ahead to the Republican expert, who is, again, Jonathan Turley from George Washington University. And in part of his opening, he speaks about how, I guess, the feeling in this country is that people are really mad. He talks about how, I can't remember all the people that he said was mad, but he even said that his dog was mad.
Yeah.
And he just said that that's just this common feeling that everybody has, and how it leads people to, I guess, make poor choices. So that's where he is going to lead off from here.
Will a slipshod impeachment make us less mad? Will it only invite an invitation for the madness to follow every future administration? That is why this is wrong. It's not wrong because President Trump is right. His call was anything but perfect. It's not wrong because the House has no legitimate reason to investigate the Ukrainian controversy. It's not wrong because we're in an election year. There is no good time for an impeachment. No, it's wrong because this is not how you impeach an American president. This case is not a case of the unknowable. It's a case of the peripheral. We have a record of conflicts, defenses that have not been fully considered, unsubpoenaed witness with material evidence. To impeach a president on this record would expose every future president to the same type of inchoate impeachment.
So, again, so this is the Republican expert. And Turley, he's speaking about the anger in the country and how it's leading the Democrats in Congress to feel like they're just going to ram this process through. And he is not... I guess he's not...
defense.
Well, he's not criticizing the Democrats for investigating it. He said that call with President Zelensky that Trump had was anything but perfect. So obviously he feels that there's something there, and he feels like there's something there to this investigation. But he says that this is not the way you go through an impeachment.
He even said that the investigation itself isn't illegitimate.
Yeah.
And wasn't initiated on false pretenses or illegitimate purposes. So
Yeah, he did.
what is his problem? He's saying this is not the way you this is not the way you impeach a president. Like first off, like the simple mindedness of it is just mind-boggling because all of this just boils down to madness. People are just mad.
That's what he ultimately said.
But again, he's contradicting himself when he says that because before he even talked about this madness, he talked about how the call was wrong. There was something wrong with the call.
Right.
He talked about how the investigation into the call was legitimate. So it's not madness.
No, it's
and let's
not
just,
madness that's driving this.
he said, he suggested that madness is what creates conditions where people make bad decisions. He said the country's mad, but he tended to kind of focus on Democrats,
He did.
right? But wouldn't madness affect everybody?
It would
Wouldn't this
affect
anger
everybody,
affect everybody?
including his dog.
His dog, but I'm just saying everybody.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
including the animal.
But wouldn't that include everybody, including Donald Trump?
yeah.
Wouldn't maybe
He would make poor choices.
he would make
as well,
poor
right?
choices. Again, like this defense actually is an indictment of, if you're going to indict one side, then it would have to apply to the other side too. This madness, because he said everybody's mad.
Right.
That would affect the decisions of Donald Trump. That would affect the decisions of Mike Pompeo.
Right.
That would affect the decisions of John Bolton, Mick Mulvaney, Rudy
Giuliani.
Giuliani, all those people. Wouldn't that same madness affect their decisions? So the same madness that he somehow, I guess, points to as the reasoning, the whole reasoning behind this, is actually the same madness that created the situation, right?
So we're going to get into more of his testimony, and he kind of expands on his point, especially about how rushed this process is. But it is interesting that he leads off with how the anger is what is fueling this, but yet he does not believe that the investigation is improper. That's interesting. And also, we do have to note that President Trump has failed to participate in any way regarding these impeachment proceedings. In any way, he has failed to produce documents, evidence, or even allow witnesses to testify. Okay, so if he has a problem with the way this is going about, I would think that he would have more anger, because everybody has anger. I would believe that he would have more anger directed at the president for not going through this impeachment process in a proper way, in a way that past presidents have gone through it.
Oh, you're bringing that up because he mentioned certain witnesses not testifying.
Right.
But whose fault is that?
Yeah, that's Trump's.
Pompeo,
Yeah.
Mulvaney, Bolton, Giuliani, all those people could have testified. So yeah, it's not the Democrats' fault.
No. All right, so in this next clip, we're going to get to, let's see here. Hold on a second here. All right, so in this next clip, oh boy, let me bring this up. All right, yeah. So in this next clip, Professor Gaillard is going to be speaking about the subpoenas, and of course about the subpoenas that have been issued for people that have been directed by the President Trump administration to not testify.
Professor Gaillard, you have written extensively about our system of checks and balances. What happens to that system when the president undertakes a blockade of Congress's impeachment inquiry, when he orders all witnesses not to testify? And what is our recourse?
When a president does that, separation of powers means nothing. The subpoenas that have been issued, of course, are lawful orders. In our law schools, we would teach our students, this is an easy, straightforward situation. You comply with the law. Lawyers all the time have to comply with subpoenas. But in this situation, the full-scale obstruction of those subpoenas, I think torpedoes separation of powers, and therefore your only recourse is to, in a sense, protect your institutional prerogatives, and that would include impeachment.
I mean, that's pretty straightforward. The president is not complying with the subpoenas. What other choice do you have? What other avenue do you have but to use the powers that you have as a Congress, as a body, to hold that president accountable? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and it's to me, it's not just, these complying with subpoenas because it's a legal order, but because you're a central figure in all this. That's obvious here. You're a central figure in all this, and you have been named.
Right.
So it's not just it being a legal order that makes subpoenas, irrelevant and it makes them, it makes them like a necessary, I guess, order to follow. It's because these people are directly involved. Like, that's why they should comply with subpoenas.
Right, because they have direct involvement, like you said. All right, so the next clip is Professor Feldman responding to the question of what is abuse of power.
Professor Feldman, what is abuse of power?
Abuse of power is when the president uses his office, takes an action that is part of the presidency, not to serve the public interest, but to serve his private benefit. And in particular, it's an abuse of power if he does it to facilitate his reelection or to gain an advantage that is not available to anyone who is not the president.
Sir, why is that impeachable conduct?
If the president uses his office for personal gain, the only recourse available under the Constitution is for him to be impeached, because the president cannot be, as a practical matter, charged criminally while he is in office, because the Department of Justice works for the president. So the only mechanism available for a president who tries to distort the electoral process for personal gain is to impeach him. That is why we have impeachment.
So this gets into the impeachment process being a political one and not a criminal one, which I can understand, and he laid it out right there.
Right. I mean, look, we've heard this argument before. We've heard people reason this before. I mean, we've said as much before, but you see, coming from a constitutional law expert, it will sound a little bit different because, again, he's gonna be educated about constitutional law. But we know that the sitting president cannot be indicted. He can't be charged criminally. So what other recourse would the Congress have? Congress that does have powers. They are a branch of government, and they have impeachment powers. So if you can't hold the president accountable for even criminal actions, then what do you do here? What do? You just allow it to happen and treat him as if he is
let the voters
a king?
decide. You let the voters decide.
You let the voters decide. Yes, that's what the Republican Party wants.
Like, aside from, impeachment being a political process, aside from this whole Trump issue with him withholding aid, aside from him withholding aid for the purpose of influencing Ukraine to start elections or investigate the 2016 election, like, all that aside, what are we actually talking about here when it comes to what Donald Trump did? Like, we can go beyond whether what he did was impeachable or not, whether we think it was impeachable or not, or whether, he created a backdoor channel to get Yovanovitch ousted, 17 fact witnesses. All of that aside, what are we talking about here in regard to Trump? We have a president of the United States, the executive, top executive, unilaterally initiating foreign policy, what he's calling foreign policy, when it was actually an agenda to benefit himself. Unilaterally going after certain investigations. This unilaterally himself. So what are we talking about here? One person, one leader, dictating a specific agenda. Let's just say it wasn't for his personal gain. Isn't that problematic? Even if it wasn't for his personal gain, wouldn't that be problematic when a leader unilaterally tries to dictate an agenda by himself? Are you okay with that?
Also, unilaterally withholding congressionally approved aid, which he actually doesn't have the right to do. Once that aid has been congressionally approved, it is supposed to be dispersed to the country, to the entity that is deserving of that aid, of the entity that is supposed to receive that aid. A president is not supposed to just hold it up and put, like I said, a hold on it. That's not supposed to happen.
And
but
it's
he
not,
did that.
Yeah, so it's
unilaterally.
And he's employing his personal goons to get this work done. Again, like, This scenario I'm talking about, let's just say he wanted to make a foreign policy decision. Even if it was, why would you employ your own personal goons to do such a thing and do it unilaterally? Do you see the implications of that? That is what an authoritarian does, even if it's under the guise of doing it for the country. But in Donald Trump's case, it wasn't. It was doing it for his own personal gain, which that makes it much worse.
The only reason why he's able to sell that it was for the country is, one, because in the phone call he said, I want you to do us a favor. But we know what Donald Trump actually believes because of things that he has said before and many times. He feels as though he is the country. If you attack Donald Trump, you're attacking the country. He has said many things like this in the past, and we've talked about that before.
He's a narcissist, that's why.
All right, so next clip. Next clip is about the subject of, I guess, what constitutes impeachment, the high crimes and misdemeanors. Why isn't that specific?
Can I ask, did the Constitution spell out every other high crime and misdemeanor?
No, it did not.
Please,
in part because they recognized that the inventiveness of man and the likelihood that this Constitution would endure for generations meant they couldn't list all of the crimes that might be committed. They couldn't imagine an abuse of power, for example, that involved burglarizing and stealing computer files from an adversary, because they couldn't have imagined computers. They couldn't necessarily have imagined wiretapping because we had no wires in 1789. So what they did is they put in a phrase that the English had used and that had adapted over a period of centuries to take into account that the idea of high crimes and misdemeanors is to get at things that people in office use to strike at the very heart of our democracy.
So that's important to share. That's important to hear because, again, it is not specific. And when things are not specific, especially right now, and I only say especially right now because this is the time that we're all alive in and this is happening. But when things are not specific, that allows people to poke holes in them, to say that, well, no, it's not that bad, or it didn't really break this law, or it didn't state that you couldn't do this or that, and that's not what he actually did, and this and that. So, of course, we all know, anybody that's reasonable understands that it could not be a specific crime that was listed, or specific crimes that were listed in which this is impeachable conduct, because times change, actions change, crimes change.
But the words that were highlighted, to me, are in umbrella terms, right? So there's a lot of actions and behaviors that fall under that umbrella anyway.
Right. Bribery is going to be bribery at any time. It is. Now, it may look different, but when you're holding something up for your own gain, if you're trying to get something from somebody else or an entity and you're holding something up because of that, then yeah, you're bribing that individual. Bribery doesn't change. The details may, but bribery, no, it doesn't. All right, so next clip. All right, so Professor Carlin begins talking about what she found to be the most striking testimony, and it was some comments that Ambassador Sondland made.
There's a lot to suggest here that this is about political benefit, and if I don't know if I can talk about another piece of Ambassador Sondland's testimony now, or I should wait. Tell me.
Please talk about it.
So I want to just point to what I consider to be the most striking example of this, and the most, I spent all of Thanksgiving vacation sitting there reading these transcripts. I didn't, I ate like a turkey that came to us in the mail that was already cooked because I was spending my time doing this. And the most chilling line for me of the entire process was the following. Ambassador Sondland said he had to announce the investigations. He's talking about President Zelensky. He had to announce the investigations. He didn't actually have to do them, as I understood it. And then he said, I never heard, Mr. Goldman, anyone say that the investigations had to start or had to be completed. The only thing I heard from Mr. Giuliani or otherwise was they had to be announced in some form. And what I took that to mean was this was not about whether Vice President Biden actually committed corruption or not. This was about injuring somebody who the president thinks of as a particularly hard opponent. And that's for his private beliefs. Because if I can say one last thing about the interests of the United States, the Constitution of the United States does not care whether the next president of the United States is Donald J. Trump or any one of the Democrats or anybody running on a third party. The Constitution is indifferent to that. What the Constitution cares about is that we have free elections. And so it is only in the president's interest, is not the national interest, that a particular president be elected or be defeated at the next election. The Constitution is indifferent to that.
Those are strong words, and she was right. Like her or not, she was right.
How do you sell that, Trump's behavior, Trump's approach, Trump's agenda, and all this has to do with the national interest?
Exactly.
I don't think you could sell that.
No, it was a personal interest. Everybody, again, if you're just the least bit if you're the least bit reasonable, logical, you would have to conclude that this was only meant to serve the interest of the person who is Donald Trump in his re-election bid. This wasn't for the country. The Mueller investigation was over, correct? The day before, President Trump spoke with President Zelensky on the phone on July 25th, Robert Mueller testified. And even before the investigation was shut down, the Mueller investigation was shut down. And to everybody, it was like, hey, okay, well, Trump did not collude with Russia, so it's over. So bury dirt on top of it. I've said it many times before, bury dirt on top of it. We don't really have to discuss it anymore. So to think that President Trump had to engage in some activity to do something for the country in those terms, to find out if Russia hacked the DNC or Ukraine hacked the DNC, that was for the country? No, that wasn't for the country. That was for you, because there's no information that suggests that it's Ukraine. That was only for you. That was for your personal interest. So again, I like what she said. The Constitution is indifferent. It is not in the Constitution's best interest that a particular president is elected or reelected.
Well, I agree, man. She made a strong case. I think Republicans have been trying to present Trump's behavior and Trump's agenda and all this as one that illustrates his need to fight corruption. So right there, they're trying to say that it is for the national interest, and seeing as we were giving them aid. But that doesn't seem to hold water, because the investigations aren't taking place because the lead got aced. The aid got released.
Yeah.
So obviously he doesn't care.
Right. Obviously.
Because he doesn't care about the national interest anymore.
And that's why she said that's what struck her the most in testimony, that Ambassador Sondland said that the investigations only had to be announced. They didn't actually have to be started or completed. It was just about injuring somebody that President Trump concluded was a significant rival of his. That's what this was about. And like you said, there was no announcement of any investigations, but that aid surely was released.
So kind of what's being suggested here? Guess Trump is okay with all that Ukrainian corruption.
I guess he is.
Guess he had a change of heart in regard to, ensuring the national interest.
Right. Which leads us to the next clip. So Republicans, especially on these committees, on these impeachment hearing committees, have suggested, not only suggested, they have stated that What matters is that the aid was released. So here's some testimony from these law experts saying why that does not matter.
Does it matter to impeachment that the $391 million, U.S. taxpayer dollars, in military assistance that the president withheld was ultimately delivered? Professor Feldman, does that matter to the question of impeachment?
No, it does not. If the President of the United States attempts to abuse his office, that is a complete impeachable offense. The possibility that the President might get caught in the process of attempting to abuse his office and then not be able to pull it off does not undercut in any way the impeachability of the act. If you'll pardon a comparison, President Nixon was subject to articles of impeachment preferred by this committee for attempting to cover up the Watergate break-in. The fact that President Nixon was not ultimately successful in covering up the break-in was not grounds for not impeaching him. The attempt itself is the impeachable act.
Professor Carlin, does it matter to impeachment that the unfounded investigations the president sought were ultimately never announced?
No, it doesn't. And if I could give an example that I think shows why soliciting is enough. Imagine that you were pulled over for speeding by a police officer, and the officer comes up to the window and says, "You were speeding, but if you give me $20, I'll drop the ticket." And you look in your wallet and you say to the officer, I don't have the $20. And the officer says, "Okay, well, just go ahead, have a nice day." The officer would still be guilty of soliciting a bribe there, even though he ultimately let you off without your paying. Soliciting itself is the impeachable offense, regardless whether the other person comes up with it. So imagine that the president had said, "Will you do us a favor? Will you investigate Joe Biden?" And the president of Ukraine said, "You know what? No, I won't, because we've already looked into this and it's totally baseless." The president would still have committed an impeachable act, even if he had been refused right there on the phone. So I don't see why the ultimate decision has anything to do with the president's impeachable conduct.
This is a case that we have made several times before, and this is a point that we wished that many members of these committees made. Now, we saw one make that point, and that was the Democratic representative Joaquin Castro of the House Intelligence Committee. And he did bring this up. He did make the point that is attempted murder a crime? Is attempted robbery a crime? Mm-hmm. And what he was trying to get at is that the attempt is the action that we need to be concerned with. And what Professor Feldman said, the attempt itself is the impeachable act.
That was a great analogy. Mm-hmm. And if that officer was reported by that driver and that department investigated and saw through his body cam or her body cam that this bribery attempt took place, most likely they'd lose their job or they'd be disciplined. But just by how Republicans have approached this, it seems as if we need to look into overturning criminal law altogether, right?
I guess so. I guess
like
so.
you said, attempted homicide,
right? Attempted robbery,
attempted manslaughter, attempted kidnapping. We got to wipe all that out now.
Because if you don't succeed,
then
it's not a crime. The attempt is not a crime.
But you can go just look up elements of solicitation or solicitation on any law website and read what solicitation is.
Right, exactly. And in this case, soliciting the help of a foreign entity to help your election bid, your re-election bid, that is a crime. That is illegal. All right, going on to, all right, so here we're going to get back to the Republican expert, and that is, again, Jonathan Turley. So Turley, once again, does not believe that this is the right pathway to impeaching a president. And here he maligns this effort because it is on pace to become the fastest impeachment in history.
you accept all of their presumptions, it would be obstruction. But impeachments have to be based on proof, not presumptions. That's the problem when you move towards impeachment on this abbreviated schedule that has not been explained to me. Why you want to set the record for the fastest impeachment. Fast is not good for impeachment. Narrow, fast impeachments have failed. Just ask Johnson. You set an incredibly short period, demand a huge amount of information, and when the president goes to court, you then impeach him. Now, does that track with what you've heard about impeachment? Does that track with the rule of law that we talked about? So, on obstruction, I would encourage you to think about this. In Nixon, it did go to the courts, and Nixon lost. And that was the reason Nixon resigned. He resigned a few days after the Supreme Court ruled against him in that critical case. But in that case, the court recognized there are executive privilege arguments that can be made. It didn't say, you had no right coming to us, don't darken our doorstep again. It said, we've heard your arguments, we've heard Congress's arguments, and you know what? You lose. Turn over the material to Congress. Do you know what that did for the judiciary is it gave this body legitimacy. It wasn't the Rodino extreme position that only you decide what information can be produced. Now, recently, there are some rulings against President Trump, including a ruling involving Don McGahn. Mr. Chairman, I testified in front of you a few months ago, and if you recall, we had an exchange, and I encouraged you to bring those actions. And I said I thought you would win, and you did. And I think it was an important win for this committee, because I don't agree with President Trump's argument in that case. But that's an example of what can happen if you actually subpoena witnesses and go to court. Then you have an obstruction case, because a court issues an order, and unless they stay that order by a higher court, you have obstruction. But I can't emphasize this enough, and I'll say it just one more time. If you impeach a president, if you make a high crime and misdemeanor out of going to the courts, it is an abuse of power. It's your abuse of power.
Turley doesn't seem to understand or know what the word presumption means.
Yeah, that's how he began.
Something to be taken as true when we can't know for certain. Mm-hmm. That's what presumption is. Right. Something that's taken as true when we can't know for certain that it actually happened. That
you couldn't use any of your five senses to gather that information.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Where did this start? How did this pop off? I'm not even talking about Trump's actions, right?
Okay, so all that background stuff
all that
we
background
didn't know
stuff,
about.
Yeah, let's just say because we don't know about it.
All right.
So how do we come to know all of these things? What popped it off?
The whistleblower.
The whistleblower. So that's not a presumption. That's someone stepping forward with information.
Right.
So the next step is to investigate the information that the whistleblower brought forth.
Right. That he had no firsthand knowledge of.
Right.
To investigate that, see if there's any merit to it.
It's not a presumption. That is essentially an accusation. An accusation that's based on some sort of knowledge, some sort of access that this whistleblower had to the conversation. So the next step is what? You investigate. So you bring all those fact witnesses that have firsthand knowledge of the situation, individuals involved in the situation. Those aren't presumptions.
No, they aren't. And when they're relaying their experience, how they were integral figures in this whole process, especially Sondland. And by his account, nothing was moving, nothing was happening. He said definitely there was a quid pro quo as it relates to the meeting between the two presidents, because he got that directly from Rudy Giuliani. But as it relates to the aid, he concluded that that had to be included as well in this withholding of, that had to be included in the request for the investigation, the announcement of the investigation, because again, nothing was moving, nothing was happening. So who would know better?
Is it a presumption that Donald Trump wanted Yovanovitch gone?
No, that's not a presumption. Is it a presumption that she was smeared?
Is it a presumption that Donald Trump wanted Rudy Giuliani to talk to William Barr, talk to President Zelensky about arranging this whole announcement of investigations? Is that a presumption, or do we have actual words? Is it a presumption that Donald Trump wanted to specifically initiate some sort of announcement of an investigation into Hunter Biden or the Bidens in general? Because what did he say about the Bidens again?
Stone cold corrupt.
Exactly. So we have the words. These are not presumptions.
He
These
said
are,
this. He
yeah.
also invited China to investigate the Bidens. It's his words. It's his words.
So what he calls presumptions are actual facts
Yes.
that we have that actually have been verified.
And he said, if these presumptions were true, then you would have obstruction. Okay. Well, you're just not there yet, I guess.
Don't you like the way he mischaracterized what this impeachment inquiry is based on? Mm-hmm. It's based on going to the courts.
Right.
It's based on appealing these subpoenas.
Right.
Or blocking subpoenas. That's what it's all based on. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's not necessarily true. That just gives the indication that there is something to hide.
Right.
But that's not what this whole thing is based on.
No, it's based on much more than that. It's based on testimony, information that has been gathered. I get his point. I do take his point that it would be an abuse of power if it was based solely on the president saying that, well, no, we're going to court to settle this. No, it's not just based on that. And again, the president has not complied with anything whatsoever. Congressional subpoenas have not complied at all, has not turned over any documents, have not produced any witnesses that Congress has called for at all. That's the first time that has ever been done. So yes, that is definitely an obstruction of Congress. It's definitely an obstruction of Congress. And we're going to get some more testimony on that. But I do want to push back on the claim that he made. Because, again, we know that Turley is against how this impeachment process is being done. And
it's too abbreviated.
It's too abbreviated. He said it's the fastest in history. Oh, he lied. Oh, he lied. So there were 2 other presidents that were impeached. Nixon was not impeached because, he resigned.
He stepped down before because he knew everything was going to...
Exactly. So if we go back to Andrew Johnson, this was the year 1868. And the date that he removed Edwin Stanton as Secretary of War was February 21st, 1868. 3 days later, February 24th, the House passed a resolution impeaching Johnson. 3 days later. 3 days. On March 4th, 1868, which was what? I mean, damn, that was just over a week later, maybe a week later, something like that. The House delivered articles of impeachment to the Senate. So we're talking about a week, less than 2 weeks for that process to culminate to where there's actual articles of impeachment. Now, when we're talking about Bill Clinton in 1998, the House voted on October 5th, 1998 to launch an impeachment inquiry. October 5th. On December 19th, 1998, the House impeached Clinton. So that was 75 days. So let's talk about this situation here. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced that an impeachment inquiry was being launched. That was on September 24th. To this point, it's been, I believe, 72 days. It's been 72 days. So that's clearly longer than Andrew Johnson's impeachment. Mm-hmm. And it looks like it's going to be longer than Bill Clinton's impeachment process because we haven't even gotten to the articles of impeachment yet. And even when you get to the articles of impeachment, which it seems like this is going forward, we're going to talk about that with Nancy Pelosi, an announcement earlier today, but there's still going to be a while because the committees first have to discuss it, what articles of impeachment are going to be drafted, and then Congress is going to have to actually vote on that.
This is
So
this is the Republican expert here.
yes, this is the Republican expert.
Maybe if I got in some legal trouble, maybe I can invoke that as my defense. Investigation is just too fast.
It's going too fast.
I'm like, usually if it's a fast investigation, that means they found things really fast. That's usually what that means.
That's funny.
But what would they be saying if it was long and drawn out? They would be saying
It's long and
it's
drawn out.
long and drawn out.
Exactly. We got business to do.
Yeah.
All right. So to push back on this, we have Representative Zoe Lofgren asking if it is an abuse of Congress to, or I guess, is it an abuse of Congress, like Professor Turley said, for them to go forward with obstruction charges or an article of impeachment related to obstruction?
I want to go back quickly to something Professor Turley said. As we saw in the Myers case, and I was a member of the committee when we tried to get her testimony, as well as the Fast and Furious case, which also was wrongfully withheld from the Congress, litigation to enforce congressional subpoenas can extend well beyond the terms of the presidency itself. That happened in both of those cases. Professor Feldman, is it, as Professor Turley seemed to suggest, an abuse of our power not to go to the courts before using our sole power of impeachment in your judgment?
Certainly not. Under the Constitution, the House is entitled to impeach. That's its power. It doesn't have to ask permission from anybody, and it doesn't have to go through any judicial process involving the judicial branch of government. That is your decision based on your judgment.
So that's, to be clear, Turley has a personal feeling about this. Turley feels like this is moving too fast. Turley feels like he would be more comfortable. Personally, he would feel more comfortable if it went the route through the courts. But that is not law.
That's not legal
the
analysis.
Constitution.
So that's not a legal analysis.
That's not legal analysis.
But
the Congress does not have to go through the courts to, I guess, go forward with impeachment. That's not part of the Constitution. That's not part of law. So for him to say it's an abuse of their power, but you're doing too much.
Oh, he's doing too much. Think about how disingenuous and indignant he's being there, right? Because apparently Trump employing goons to smear and remove a diplomat, that's not abuse of power.
Right.
Trump unilaterally holding aid so that a country can just announce investigations of a U.S. citizen and political opponent, that's not abuse of power.
Right.
Obstruction, that's definitely not abuse of power. But trying to investigate all of this is abuse of power.
By not going to the courts, though.
Oh, yeah.
By not going to the courts. The simple act of Congress not going to the courts to force a decision from the Trump administration, that's an abuse of power. Even though nothing stipulates that they have to do that. All right. Jim Jordan.
Our favorite, or one of our
Jim
favorites.
Jordan. Attack dog for the President of the United States, Donald Trump. So he is also on this committee as well. And you know what? I'm not certain if he is a permanent member of this committee. I know on the Intelligence Committee, he was just a temporary. He was given that temporary status.
Specially chosen.
Yes.
For he had a special set of skills.
Yes, he did. Yeah, so he was awarded like a special badge. Here, now go. So like I said, I'm not entirely certain if he is a member of this committee regularly, but he was there yesterday. He was definitely there yesterday. And so what he is conveying is that this process was predetermined. Impeachment was predetermined.
I would argue it's not a fast impeachment, it's a predetermined impeachment. Predetermined impeachment done in the most unfair partisan fashion we have ever seen. No subpoena power for Republicans. Depositions done in secret, in the bunker, in the basement of the Capitol. 17 people come in for those depositions. No one could be in there except a handful of folks that Adam Schiff allowed in those depositions. Chairman Schiff prevented witnesses from answering Republican questions. Every Democrat question got answered. Not every Republican question. Democrats denied Republicans the witnesses we wanted in the open hearings that took place 3 weeks ago.
This again.
Yeah, it's
this
familiar.
again.
Yeah, this again. Yeah, it followed him into this committee as well. You know, I think it's real special. Special like his special badge. I think it's real special.
I think it's a sash at this point. I think it's a complete sash. It's,
okay. Okay.
and put a hat on him too. A crown, whatever.
Like to the side. I think it's real special for this Republican to feel this type of way about the rules, about the minority party not having subpoena power. I think it's real special because who put those rules in place? It was the Republican Party in 2015. So how are you complaining about rules you put in place? It wasn't a big deal at all. You thought it was the best route forward in 2015, but now that you don't have control of the House of Representatives, and in turn you don't have control of the committees, now.
Oh, well, wait. But see, this time in particular, these hearings or these depositions were taken in secret. So it's different now.
Yeah, it's secret.
Without the inclusion of Republicans,
Hold
it was
on.
secret.
No.
Yeah, right?
No. You see, there's Republicans that are on these committees.
You sure?
Yeah, and
you sure about that?
I'm certain. So, like all the Republicans you saw during the all the hearings in the Intelligence Committee, all those Republicans were allowed behind those closed doors, all of them. And they were allowed to ask questions of the witness. You know, really what he's mad about, because you heard Jim Jordan say
we weren't
that
allowed to bring
forth witnesses. One, we also, all of our questions didn't get answered. Your questions were about the whistleblower. We saw that during the open hearings as well. You wanted to ask questions about the identity of the whistleblower, and those were not permitted.
Also,
the Democrats didn't ask questions.
They didn't ask.
that.
Yeah, and also, if you're talking about not being able to call witnesses, the reason is because the witnesses you tried to, I guess, summon or wanted to summon had actually nothing to do with the impeachment inquiry
of President
hearings.
Donald Trump. This isn't an impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden or of Barack Obama. No, this is of President Donald Trump.
You can't just have a theory, which is fine for you to have.
Right.
You can't just have a theory and based on your theory alone, with actual no tangible or no even circumstantial evidence, want witnesses to be called for some entirely different matter.
They may as well call us. They may as well just call us and have us testify.
Like, and the thing is, like, again, there's just, most Republicans have been doing this, but this whole, like, they wanted to get him from the beginning. They've been wanting to do this from the beginning.
That's right.
Like, all of this is like, what? Like, did they invent the whistleblower? Did they invent this whistleblower? Like if I say, let's just say I start dating someone, and maybe they're a little bit jealous, maybe they're suspicious of me, and they thought that I was going to cheat on them. The moment we got together, the moment they thought I was going to cheat, and they just had this thought, right? So, months later, I cheat.
Yep.
And you know what I'm going to say?
What?
Well, you thought I was cheating from the beginning.
Yeah.
You wanted me to cheat.
It was predetermined.
It was predetermined that I was going to cheat. I mean.
So it doesn't matter that you actually did.
No, it doesn't. Obviously, according to Jim Jordan, I can use that as a defense.
Yeah, that is his defense. We have another ridiculous. We have more ridiculous comments from the right side of things. From not the right, but the, the political right. The Republicans that are on this committee. So Representative Jim Sensenbrenner, he gets into what is the real quid pro quo.
This whole inquiry was started out by a comment that President Trump made to President Zelensky in the July 25th call of, quote, "do me a favor," unquote. There are some who have said it's a quid pro quo. There are some who have implied that it's a quid pro quo. But both Trump and Zelensky have said it wasn't, and Zelensky has said there was no pressure on me, and the aid came through within 6 weeks after the phone call in question was made. Now, you can contrast that to where there was no impeachment inquiry to Vice President Biden when he was giving a speech and said, you know, I held up $1 billion worth of aid unless the prosecutor was fired within 6 hours. And son of a bleep, that's what happened. Now, you know, it seems to me that if you're looking for a quid pro quo and looking for something that was really over the top, it was not saying, do me a favor. It was saying, son of a bleep, that's what happened in 6 hours. Now, you know, the Republicans who were in charge of Congress at the time Biden made that comment, we did not tie the country up for 3 months and going on 4 now, wrapping everybody in this town around the axelrod. We continued attempting to do the public's business. That's not what's happening here. And I think the American public are getting a little bit sick and tired of impeachment, 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 when they know that less than a year from now, they will be able to determine whether Donald Trump stays in office or somebody else will be elected.
You see this face right here? Yeah, I just want to be...
This mug is like, first of all, it was a task to even...
Yes, just to even
to pay attention to this dude, because
Yes.
it sounds like his blood is running through his veins really, really, really slow. It's just like, and like
there's a real slow pace to his commentary.
Like he kind of gurgles when he talks, so it's like feel like I'm listening to what's that character off of Dukes of Hazzard, Boss Hogg.
Boss Hogg. First time Boss Hogg has been mentioned. On
Very first time.
I just really want to point out, because there's many things to kind of hit on here. But I just want to really point out how ridiculous it was to suggest that the real quid pro quo happened with Joe Biden, because Joe Biden was the one that said, hey, you're not going to get your money, you're not going to get this $1 billion if if you don't fire Viktor Shokin, who was the prosecutor general of Ukraine. So
he was considered corrupt by Ukrainians.
Yes, he was considered corrupt, not just by Ukrainians, but still. What's really ridiculous is because Sensenbrenner is talking about the time that Joe Biden actually stated these comments. And I guess to Sensenbrenner, he was arrogantly talking about this. And that wasn't appealing to Sensenbrenner. So he was saying that, hey, yeah, I told him, you know, hey, you in 6 hours, you better get rid of this guy because you're not going to get your money. And damn it, they did it, right? So what Sensenbrenner is saying is that there was no impeachment inquiry after Joe Biden's statements. Now, Joe Biden said these words in January 2018?
Yeah.
January 2018. You wanted to launch an impeachment inquiry of the former vice president of the United States of America? Are you serious? That's where he just went. That's the crazy town we're living in right now.
But no. You got to look at the reason why he went there. What he's trying to say is, look, there was an actual instance of malfeasance and potential corruption that, hey, us Republicans, we let it go. That's what he's trying to do. We let it go. So, hey.
We didn't hold the
things up. We didn't hold the country hostage.
Right.
So they should be doing the same thing that we did when Joe Biden did his thing, and that's absolutely nothing. That's what he's trying to say. So even though he's kind of making a dumb suggestion.
one of the dumbest.
But he has.
2018.
But see, you have to make a dumb suggestion to offer a defense for Donald Trump here, and that's the defense he's offering for Donald Trump. Is that, hey, we let Joe Biden skate, but
when he wasn't in office.
But how does that? But still, though, he's trying to do that now. But I don't know how he can do that now when Republicans are not trying to let Joe Biden skate.
Exactly.
That doesn't even make sense.
That's true. That's true.
It doesn't even make sense. And if we're going to talk about Joe Biden and what Joe Biden did, that was actually foreign policy. Whether you agree with it or not. We're not saying we agree with it or disagree with it.
Right.
What we're saying is, like, when it comes to any kind of aid or any kind of agreements or any kind of, arrangements we make with our allies, there are always terms and conditions. There are always terms and conditions.
Right.
And in that case, those terms and conditions were well known to the international community. And Republicans.
Yes. Oh, so to kind of like
wrap this up.
Yeah. To kind of wrap this up, and just to go more into it. Again, it wasn't just solely Joe Biden. It wasn't Joe Biden on a unilateral mission. Joe Biden was the vice president of the United States. He doesn't have that kind of.
He didn't have a goon. You mean he didn't have? You mean he didn't have like cars and trucks, SUVs full of goons?
No.
Going and roughing people up.
This was not a sole mission by the vice president Joe Biden. No, he was the point man, but he was only given point man responsibilities by the president of the United States, Barack Obama. So it was the United States government that wanted Shokin gone. It was the IMF that wanted Shokin gone. It was the whole West that wanted him gone. It was the parliament in Ukraine that wanted Viktor Shokin gone because he was viewed as the corrupt individual that was not actually investigating corruption per Burisma.
And those are the facts regardless of whether you agree with that or not.
Yes. Now, just kind of highlighting the U.S. government part, because you would assume that the U.S. government, I mean the Democrats that are in government. But no, like you said, Republicans were behind this initiative as well.
Wait. I think
they were supportive.
Something that you should mention. It was some kind of letter.
There was a letter.
There was a letter.
There was a letter. There was a letter. There was a letter.
Say it again.
There was a letter.
Okay.
There was a letter. So in 2016, a bipartisan letter was signed in the Senate to push for reforms in Ukraine's prosecutor general's office and the judiciary. So the Republicans that signed this letter, GOP Senators Mark Kirk, who is no longer in office anymore, Rob Portman, and Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson has some affiliation with this whole Ukraine business because he was actually one of the senators that went over to Ukraine and talked to President Zelensky with the Democratic Senator Chris Murphy.
Yeah, he has some kind.
He has some kind of involvement in this, right? Yeah. So we have Republican senators, Republicans in Congress that were supportive of what Obama was doing, and by extension, what Joe Biden was doing.
Again, whether you agree with that foreign policy or not, that's not the issue. Whether we agree with it or not, that's not the issue.
No. But now 3 years later, when President Trump is saying that Biden and the Bidens are stone cold corrupt, now you have Republicans who, again, 3 years ago were on board with reforms in the prosecutor general's office in Ukraine. Now you have these same Republicans saying, oh, yeah, what Biden did stinks to hell. Oh, yeah, no, we got to investigate that. Oh, yeah, bring them to the committees. They have to testify.
And here's the thing. If he's going to make that accusation, right, because that's what it is, like, how is Joe Biden benefiting personally from what he did? Like, personally, where's the personal benefit? What did he get in exchange? Because you have to state what he got in exchange. And what Republicans are doing is they're throwing two things up there that are not in the same timeline, and that's the investigation into Burisma, which started before his son was on the board.
It did.
And then the withholding of the aid to get a corrupt prosecutor out. They're throwing those two things up there, hoping that people think those two things are running parallel, and they weren't. So the timelines are off on both of those two things. Whether both of those things are true or not, that's fine. Both those things are true.
Yeah.
Burisma was being investigated, but Hunter Biden wasn't even on the board yet.
No.
And then Joe Biden was working with the United States government, as well as Ukrainian government and the international community to remove someone who was corrupt. Those things did happen.
And we heard during the testimony in the House Intelligence Committee that what was actually being investigated, or really who was really being investigated.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. I did forget to mention that.
Yeah, it was Zlochinsky.
The founder.
Yes, the CEO of Burisma. Nobody else was mentioned. Nobody else was mentioned. It was the owner. All right. So let's go to you know what? Let's go to this one moment where Professor Carlin makes a comment about President Trump not being able to act as king.
Kings could do no wrong because the king's word was law. And contrary to what President Trump has said, Article 2 does not give him the power to do anything he wants. And I'll just give you one example that shows you the difference between him and a king, which is the Constitution says there can be no titles of nobility. So while the president can name his son Barron, he can't make him a baron.
Thank you.
Yeah, she got a lot of criticism.
She got a lot of heat for that.
But there's an analogy in there.
Yeah, but later on, ultimately, she apologized for it during the hearing because she felt it was out of bounds. And there were multiple GOP senators that, I guess, reprimanded her for it during the hearing. So she felt that she should apologize. But she also said that, you know, she wished that President Trump would apologize for some of his misdeeds and his offensive comments, which, of course, we know that's not coming. Now, there was a response by Melania Trump, who is Barron Trump's mother, of course. And on Twitter, she said, "A minor child deserves privacy and should be kept out of politics. Pamela Karlan, you should be ashamed of your very angry and obviously biased public pandering and using a child to do it."
But that wasn't really about Barron. It was about Trump. It's like saying, hey, you have the power to name your child, which is Barron, right? Barron Trump. Yeah. And then kind of like using his name to illustrate how he's behaving.
Right. Trump is
like a robber baron,
right,
or like a baron of like corruption. So yes, he was kind of like doing some wordplay there that really had nothing to do with Barron. It had to do with the way Trump was acting and like what kind of authority he has. He has the authority to name his son Barron, but he doesn't have the authority to be one. Right. They're just trying to be outraged. And I just do find it amazing that they're outraged over this one little fucking thing. This one little thing. But they're not outraged at what Trump did. So fuck Melania. I don't care. Fuck her though.
But
she's whack.
No, she's a part of it. And
whack.
she deserves to get the criticism, especially because of who her husband is and how she doesn't have criticisms of him. Be best, right? Meanwhile, President Trump offends people on the regular. Racism, bigotry, xenophobia, all of that on the regular. Caging children, or you're concerned with children, but not in that case. This new announcement too that was that was revealed yesterday, on Wednesday actually, during the hearing, or at least after the hearing. But that was about food stamps. That nearly 700,000 people will lose their food stamps because of the work requirement change. And this is something that the Trump administration has been pushing. So you care about kids, but you don't care about feeding these kids that need that assistance. Oh, you don't care about that. You just care about your son, even though your son wasn't directly mentioned. It wasn't about Barron, who he is. It wasn't about making fun of his haircut or his clothes or anything like that. It was about Trump acting like he's a king, but he's not. That's what it was about.
I think that's important to mention because it kind of relates to what I was talking about earlier. What this whole Trump-Ukrainian thing kind of like what overlooks all of that. Aside from all of what we know about what Trump did and his behaviors and who he had working for him. Beside all of that, like what she is saying is he can't behave like an authoritarian. Meaning he can't unilaterally go about doing things like this because that's what he's doing because he is not a king. So we can't be okay with this because if we are, then we're saying that he can unilaterally, on his own personal whim, try to enact his own foreign policy or even his own domestic policy. Because at some point during this hearing, she gave an analogy that was perfect because we're talking about foreign policy. But what's preventing Trump or any other president from doing the same thing as far as domestic policy? Let's say like when a state needs some aid, some federal aid, FEMA aid, or any kind of aid. Doesn't matter what kind of aid it is. And Trump says, oh, wait. I know Congress approved this aid in the budget a long time ago, but wait. We gonna hold up on that. And I'm gonna contact the governor, right? Governor of that state and be like, yeah, okay, you're gonna get that aid, but what you gotta do is, right, there's an individual who I don't like in that state. Maybe this person doesn't like me, maybe they don't, but hey, they're a part of the other party, so I just don't like them. So what I need you to do is I need you to get with the Attorney General of that state. And you and that Attorney General together, or any other authority figure, maybe some prosecutors, and announce that that individual is being investigated for a number of things. You can pick one. I don't care. You choose. I need you to do that. Then I'll release that aid for you. I mean, you don't want your people to suffer, right?
Exactly. That is similar to what happened. Again, with Melania, her husband just recently, weeks ago, publicly attacked a 16-year-old girl, Greta Thunberg. Publicly attacked her.
Directly.
But watch out for the kids. This is about the kids.
Actually,
gotta protect the kids.
Actually, most Republicans did, not just him.
They did, yeah. But this is her husband. Be best. Oh, be best. Yeah, right. All right. Let's keep going. Got a few more clips. Matt Gaetz. Again, this is along the lines of what we heard from Representative Jim Sensenbrenner about about impeaching somebody while they don't hold public office. It's absolutely ridiculous, but here we go.
And you know what? If wiretapping a political opponent's an impeachable offense, I look forward to reading that Inspector General's report, because maybe it's a different president we should be impeaching.
Gentleman's time has expired.
It's a different president. Wait. Okay. Let me try to get into Gates' world. Maybe there's another reality, another dimension,
alternate dimension.
That's what I'm saying. There's another dimension.
That we have a pathway to, obviously.
Not only do we have a pathway to, we have a pathway to this dimension, and in this dimension, there's another United States, and this United States has their own president. And these two things, these two dimensions, and these two realities are running parallel.
Yes, they are. They have to be.
That's how we're trying to make sense of this.
And so, if wiretapping is a crime, then I guess there's a different president that we have to be impeaching. Now, he's relating this to the former president, Barack Obama. That's what he's relating this to. And of course, that Inspector General's report, they are waiting for it.
People been like sitting on the edge of their seats. Everybody's going down. Everybody's going down.
Everybody's going down. They're going to be locked up like this, man.
But what have been the preliminary findings or the preliminary reports about this report, or the preliminary talk?
I got a phrase
rhetoric.
I got a phrase for you. Haven't brought it out for a little while. Got a phrase.
Oh no, man!
Got a phrase.
Close your ears, folks.
Got a phrase for you,
man.
Ho hum. Ho hum. That's what the preliminary report is. That there was no abuse that was committed by FBI officials, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, any of these individuals,
and the personnel that was responsible for issuing the report. The one that everyone was, well, I don't say everyone. There are certain individuals that were kind of putting all their eggs in this one person's basket. All he said was pretty much that it was just sloppy.
Yes.
There's nothing illegal that went on. It was just sloppy. Also, again, why don't we just go to the horse's mouth when it comes to this issue? And we can go to the horse's mouth like a long time ago. This came out of the horse's mouth a long time ago, and that's FBI Director Christopher Wray.
Yeah,
he's already made statements about this.
He has.
And what did he say about that accusation that was actually made by our current head of DOJ, the current Attorney General?
I think he said something like there wasn't really that much to it. There wasn't really that much to it, something like that? There wasn't really that much to it?
There was nothing to it.
Oh, nothing? It
was completely,
it
was fabrication.
Yeah, okay. He's the director of the FBI.
Appointed by
But
Donald Trump. Again, so
and he's a Republican.
And see, that's the key right there. So if all these Republicans are constantly throwing this out there as some sort of like a dog meat, because that's what it is. Man, I just suggested that their supporters are dogs. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Red meat. I mean, red meat.
I understand.
You know what I meant.
Yeah.
So they're constantly throwing this out there. Like, first of all, it's not even relevant here.
No.
But they're constantly throwing out there as some sort of deflection, and they're constantly like being like outraged about this thing, right? But who should they be mad at? Who should they be taking their anger to?
Themselves.
You brought this on yourself.
Exactly.
Like, they should take it to the director of the FBI who was appointed by Donald Trump.
Really should.
They really think the crimes occurred.
Right.
They should be mad at themselves.
Not only that though, of course this is important. Yes, very important. But not only that, they should also take the claim of this conspiracy theory in Ukraine. There's a conspiracy theory that Ukraine was the ones that actually hacked the DNC. So you should probably take that to the FBI, which the FBI has not claimed that actually happened.
Not only the FBI hasn't claimed that happened, one of Trump's right-hand men hasn't claimed that happened.
No.
That's Mike Pompeo. He was the director of CIA.
It seems as though...
And he's current Secretary of State. He hasn't claimed that.
Yeah. No, it seems as only people that are doing the most to protect Donald Trump are using this conspiracy theory. That seems to be the case. Because, again, there's no evidence that suggests that Ukraine had any involvement.
Hey. Imagination is evidence. Theories are evidence.
That's right.
Oh,
if I can dream it up.
If it's possible, then that constitutes evidence. If it's possible, that means we deserve an investigation.
So possible equals probable.
Possible equals probable.
And equals real.
According to Republicans. Actually, not according to Republicans. According to just a lot of regular folk. Some folk watch our show.
Oh, that's true. That is true. All right, so let's keep going. A couple more videos, more than a couple, a few more though. So Ted Lieu, Representative Ted Lieu, Democratic representative from California, I believe. Here he talks about the campaign violation that President Trump committed.
But we don't even have to talk about the crime of bribery. There's another crime here, which is the solicitation of of assistance of a foreign government in a federal election campaign. That straight up violates the Federal Election Campaign Act at 52 U.S.C. 3101. And oh, by the way, that act is also one reason Michael Cohen is sitting in prison right now. I yield back.
Now, why would he mention Michael Cohen? Why would he mention Michael Cohen?
Well, Michael Cohen was President Trump's former fixer / attorney, personal attorney.
Yeah, I was about to say, I object to that term, fixer.
Fixer?
How disrespectful.
Yeah, it's very disrespectful, even though he's sitting in jail. Even though he's sitting in jail. All right, so prison. Michael Cohen seems to be, or no, not seem to be. He was convicted for, there were other things, but one thing was facilitating payments to at least two individuals, to really quiet them, to shut down their stories. And that was done to help Donald Trump become the president of the United States, because if that information got out before the election, it might hurt his case to be the next president. It might hurt his votes. So, of course, we're talking about the Playboy Playmate, and that was Catherine McDougal. Is it Catherine? No.
It's something McDougal.
McDougal. Kate I can't remember. Nah. McDougal. I can't remember. But also Stormy Daniels as well. Payments were facilitated to them, routed to them, and Michael Cohen definitely had an involvement in that. Now, it would seem that he wouldn't just do this for himself. I mean, even fixers don't act as themselves. Attorneys don't act for themselves. They act at the behest of their clients. We know that. It wouldn't make sense if they're just doing their own thing for their client without even consulting with their client. No. Especially, like, where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from? I mean, the money would have to come from the client if you're doing this. It would be no. Why would? So you're talking. I mean, you would have to surmise that this fixer just has a really good heart and just wants to do things and cost himself money because he wants to do a solid for his client. No. But see, again, he's in jail for the campaign violation because, again, that's a campaign violation because that was not well, it was discovered. It wasn't revealed by Donald Trump, and you had to come clean with that because it was a benefit to your campaign. Now, in this instance, this is about soliciting the help of a foreign entity to help in your reelection bid. And again, that is breaking the law. That is illegal.
I don't think it could go without saying, though, it's not just Trump that is attached to Cohen here. Because didn't he have a position at the RNC?
He did.
He was deputy finance chair.
Yeah, one of
the deputy finance chairman at the RNC.
Right.
And this person is currently in jail. So we can't think of Michael Cohen just in regard to Donald Trump. He had a high position at the Republican National Committee. So
yeah, it's not just about.
It's not just about Trump. If you go to the page, GOP whatever dot something, and go to that page where they announced it, and they announced him as a deputy finance chairman, that page is now 404'd. You get 404 error. I got screenshots of it, but if you go there, if you go to that link where they announced him as their finance chairman, it is now 404 error. They took that shit down.
Get rid of that. Yeah. All right. Now we're gonna go to Representative Joe Neguse, who he has an exchange with Professor Turley. And this is related to the obstruction and about how President Trump has precluded any testimony that has been asked for and precluded any involvement, any release of any documents that Congress has asked for.
Professor Turley, you've studied the impeachments of President Johnson, President Nixon, President Clinton. Am I right that President Nixon allowed senior White House officials, including the White House counsel and the White House chief of staff, to testify in the House impeachment inquiry?
Yes.
And you're aware that President Trump has refused to allow his chief of staff or White House counsel to testify in this inquiry, correct?
Yes, but various officials did testify, and they are remaining in federal employment.
And that does not include the White House counsel nor the White House chief of staff, correct?
That's correct.
And am I right that President Clinton provided written responses to 81 interrogatories from the House Judiciary Committee during that impeachment inquiry?
I believe that's
Sounds about right. And you're aware that President Trump has refused any requests for information submitted by the Intelligence Committee in this impeachment inquiry?
I have, yes.
Are you familiar with the letter issued by White House counsel Pat Cipollone on October 8th, written on behalf of President Trump, in effect instructing executive branch officials not to testify in this impeachment inquiry?
Yes, I am.
And am I correct that no president in the history of the Republic before President Trump has ever issued a general order instructing executive branch officials not to testify in an impeachment inquiry?
That's where I'm not sure I can answer that affirmatively. I mean, President Nixon, in fact, went to court over access to information, documents, and the like, and he lost.
Well, Professor Turley, I would just, again, refer you back to the history that's been recounted by each of the distinguished scholars here today, because we know, as we recount these examples, that President Nixon did in fact allow his chief of staff and his chief counsel to testify, and this president has not. We know that President Clinton responded to interrogatories propounded by that impeachment inquiry, and that this president has not. At the end of the day, this Congress and this committee has an obligation to ensure that the law is enforced. And with that, I yield back the balance of my time.
I will say it again. That is the person the Republicans brought to this hearing.
That's correct.
Again, and this is just so smart because he is the one who is invoking all these other instances and trying to compare this situation to those other instances of impeachment and the impeachment process. So he's kind of opening the door to get destroyed, for himself to get destroyed in this case.
Right. Because this is something that we have not seen in history. There have been presidents that have been impeached, but each one of them has participated to some degree. And this president, this current president, President Trump, is saying that no, I'm not going to do anything. You can't make me do anything. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to give you anything. And so that leads us to our next clip. And in this clip, Representative Greg Steube is sorry, that's the second clip. That's a whole nother clip. But in this next clip, Professor Feldman speaks about how Trump is acting as if he is above the law and cannot be held accountable.
Professor Feldman, what are the consequences of this unprecedented obstruction of Congress to our democracy?
For the president to refuse to participate in any way in the House's constitutional obligation of supervising him to impeach him breaks the Constitution. It basically says, nobody can oversee me. Nobody can impeach me. First, I'll block witnesses from appearing. Then I'll refuse to participate in any way. And then I'll say, you don't have enough evidence to impeach me. And ultimately, the effect of that is to guarantee that the president is above the law and can't be checked. And since we know the framers put impeachment in the Constitution to check the president, if the president can't be checked, he's no longer subject to the law.
It's hard to follow that. I mean, well, no, it's hard to disagree with that logic because, one, we do know that that is exactly what the president is doing. He is saying that I'm not going to comply with any request, demand, any subpoena. I'm not gonna comply whatsoever. And since you obviously can't make me do it, and since by not getting that information, I'm gonna conclude that you don't have enough information to go forward with the impeachment, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. That is a president that is above the law, or at least is acting like he is above the law. So this whole notion that Congress is exceeding its powers and abusing their own authority, abusing their own powers by trying to hold this president accountable is ridiculous.
That's projection.
It is.
That's projection. Like, people need to decide what's more important. Like trying to hold the president of the United States accountable for abusing his power, engaging in behavior that kind of suggests that he is above the law, being the sole authority in regard to distributing foreign aid or anything like that, even domestic aid. Like, people need to decide what they're okay with. Are they okay with all that? Or they just want their stupid ass conspiracy theories to be, I don't know, investigated? Which one is it?
It's got to be one. All right. And so then we have one more clip from the testimony phase. And like I kind of, pointed to, this is one of the more ridiculous, claims. But, we've heard similar type of comments. This is from Representative Greg Steube, who is a Republican on the House Judiciary Committee. And what he is bemoaning is that President Trump has not been afforded due process, but other criminals have.
I've only been in Congress since January of this year, and on the very first day of my swearing in, a Democrat in my class called for the impeachment of the president on day one, using much more colorful language than I would ever use. Since then, this committee focused on the Mueller report and the Russia collusion theory. We all sat and listened to Mr. Mueller state unequivocally that there was no evidence that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia. So that didn't work for the Democrats. So they then changed their talking points and moved to the obstruction of justice theory, that the president obstructed justice. Then that fizzled. Then after coordinating with Chairman Schiff's staff, a whistleblower filed a complaint based completely on hearsay and overhearing other people that weren't on a phone call talk about a phone call between two world leaders, which led to the Intel Committee so-called impeachment inquiry, which violated all past historical precedent, denied the president basic due process rights and fundamental fairness by conducting the so-called inquiry in secret, without the minority's ability to call witnesses, and denied the president
the ability to have his lawyers cross-examine witnesses, a right afforded to President Clinton and every defendant in our justice system, including rapists and murderers.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. We heard similar things by Jim Jordan. I mean, that's just one. I mean, I'm not going to list them all, but we've heard similar things that President Trump has not been afforded due process, and this is setting a precedent because no other president has gone through this type of irregular behavior, this type of injustice before. So he's been denied due process. He has not been allowed to cross-examine witnesses. And this is something that I guess the worst criminals in our society are able to do. Rapists, murderers. Later on, he went on to say that even terrorists have due process rights. Now, Mike.
I know what's coming. I already know what's coming.
Sorry for hitting the mic here. Mike, are we in a trial? Is this a trial? Are we in a trial? Are we in a trial? Is there a judge that I missed? Where's the judge? Where's the judge at? Did anybody see the judge? Anybody saw the judge? Did anybody see the prosecution and the defense? Like, did anybody see the lawyers that are representing the state, the government, or whatever? And anybody see lawyers representing the defense? I mean, the accused. Anybody see a trial going on?
I didn't. But let's do this. Let's imagine that this is a trial. Mm-hmm. Let's imagine that we're in a trial, right? Mm-hmm. Trump is not barred from participating.
No,
I mean, himself. No. Himself. He can participate. Like, he can be front and center if he wanted to. Nobody's preventing his ass from sitting right there.
He was invited specifically to this last proceeding in the House Judiciary Committee. He was invited by the chairman, Jerry Nadler. You and your attorneys can be present. You'll be able to call your own expert witness or your expert.
Now, if we're talking about the impeachment inquiry hearings where we heard from over a dozen fact witnesses, they were questioned. Mm-hmm. Trump had people on his behalf question those witnesses.
He did. He had his own Republican members of Congress.
So the idea that he wasn't allowed to question individuals is completely false. But I don't know why they keep bringing the whole Mueller thing into it. I guess they're trying to establish this narrative that, hey, the Democrats were always going after Trump. But there's just one problem with bringing up the Mueller investigation in regard to Democrats. Democrats didn't initiate that investigation. They may have been rhetorically talking about it,
right?
Which is fine.
But who officially
I know a lot of people, progressives and those on the left are constantly running with that narrative, but it's actually not not and y'all need to stop. No, stop. Y'all need to definitely.
Who had the ability to actually put it in motion?
So it wasn't.
Democrats had no power.
The Democrats had no power to do that. Again, rhetorically, that was a narrative that a lot of them were running with, like Russia, that's fine. But they had no authority or no power to start an investigation. Who appointed Robert Mueller? Who appointed
That was the Deputy Attorney General, and his name was Rod Rosenstein.
Now, who did Trump expect to be there in his position to make a decision about what could be done about maybe this issue with Russia? Who was supposed to be there, Will?
Beauregard.
Jeffrey Beauregard Sessions.
Yes.
Now, why did he have to step down?
Oh, well, he had to recuse himself because of some issue.
Conflict of interest?
Yeah.
Or maybe some information he did not divulge about his travels.
Right.
And Donald Trump was a little mad about that.
Oh, more than that, but yeah.
But I think the last straw, well, no, actually, I know the last straw. I know this to be the last straw, is when he fired James Comey. Mm-hmm. That was essentially the last straw, which sparked not only Democrats but Republicans,
yep.
I guess, to call for a special counsel.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and then recently during that Fox interview, that 53-minute Fox and Friends interview, Trump actually mentioned Comey, and he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said something like, I would have been in big trouble if I did not fire James Comey. So I don't know him invoking the Mueller report or that investigation in regard to the Democrats actually makes sense in all this, because it was all done by Republicans. Democrats who have elected positions didn't have anything to do with the election. Didn't have anything to do with the investigation, even when it was ongoing, because they weren't a part of it. They weren't privy to any information. Right. So it's not something that they can actually run with, because they had no information to run with. They received information when we did, when something came out.
All right, so that is the clips that we have, I guess, of the actual testimony and responses during this hearing. Now, there are a few other clips that we want to get to. Actually, we have 3 clips. 2 of them are going to be featuring the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, Doug Collins, the Republican. So actually, both questions are very similar, and I believe both questions are asked by the same CNN reporter. But it's related to the claim by Republicans that Trump is actually concerned with corruption.
Do you have any concern whatsoever about the president's asking a foreign country to investigate a political act, soliciting help from a foreign country, presumably for his re-election? Do you have any concern about
From
it?
your hypothetical position, I'm not going to take, because the actual facts of this case are the president didn't do that. If you go on the facts of it, he asked for corruption. This is a country that had 60. And granted, this is a country that had 68% of its people in a poll just in the last year say that they had bribed a public official. This is a country that he had deep concerns about from the beginning. Remember that he has concern about foreign aid, but this was one country in particular he had a lot of concerns about. So as we move forward, we'll see how this works out.
So, first of all,
talk about presumptions.
Oh yes, but first of all, Doug Collins is saying that President Trump was concerned about corruption. That's what he asked about. He never mentioned corruption at all.
Those words
in the
never came out of his
first
mouth.
call with Zelensky that was released second, but he never mentioned corruption, even though the White House put out a description of what the call entailed. And it included corruption, rude not corruption, that was nowhere to be found. And then in the July 25th call, it wasn't about corruption. It was about CrowdStrike, and it was about an investigation into the Bidens. Talk to my lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
I'll coordinate with him,
Yes.
Barr.
Mm-hmm. So it was not about corruption as he mentions. But then he talks about how corrupt Ukraine is. He talks about how corrupt Ukraine is and about the accepted bribes. So again, I think you made this point on Tuesday. This country, this nation is so unbelievably corrupt. So corrupt that you released aid, you released the foreign aid, you released the security assistance without ensuring that they followed through with the investigations?
Also, they're just so, even though they're corrupt, and even though that's the narrative, you were going to entrust them with the investigation.
Yes. This very corrupt nation.
You're going to trust this country that's so damn corrupt with an investigation.
Right. You're going to go to them first. You're not going to go to your own government. Hey, I think something's going, we got to do something. No. You're going to go to the corrupt country to start an investigation. Really? Really?
Again, when you're trying to defend the indefensible, you have to make ridiculous points. So you have to use ridiculous logic, even if it doesn't make sense.
So again, this is another clip featuring ranking member Doug Collins. Similar question, worse response.
Yes. You keep saying that the president was concerned about corruption, but in neither of those phone calls he mentioned the word corruption. Why didn't the president mention the word corruption and instead ask the Ukrainian president to investigate the Bidens?
Well, that's almost like saying, why don't you ask, frame your questions differently. He said this is what he wanted to look into. He said, as he said, help us as a country because we're trying to heal. We've had, as Mr. Jordan said earlier and did a great job at, we had just come off the Mueller hearing, which was most all of you covered and found to be a total disaster for the impeachment narrative that the Democrats have been saying. What we're simply saying here is that the issue was, what happened on that call. And then there became all these stories from the whistleblowers about all these things that supposedly happened. And since then, fact witnesses and even hearsay evidence has said, no, that's not what happened. So my question, I go back to something, and everyone, if Mr. Nadler stands here, ask him this question. He said it almost 20 years ago, that we should never accept a report from another entity and just accept it and rubber stamp it. I have a question for Mr. Nadler. Is he just simply going to rubber stamp this to get to the two things that I've said, the clock and the calendar?
Why not mention corruption? Why not mention
All of the
corruption?
witnesses raised.
Yo, Jim Jordan better watch out.
You about to take his spot?
I'm about to say, Jim Jordan better
He
watch
about to
out.
take his spot, man.
Because, you know, Jim Jordan's position don't look safe. Because Collins has that kind of like talking fast,
He
throwing
does.
out multiple irrelevant talking points down.
Dude, hold on. Did you hear an answer? Did you hear an answer to the question? Because the question was, why do you keep saying that President Trump wanted to address corruption when he actually never even mentioned it? And what I heard Ranking Member Doug Collins say was, the country's going through a tough time. We're healing. So because the country is healing, Biden need to be investigated? We're healing, so Trump needed to ask Zelensky to investigate the Bidens because we're healing.
Not only that, he said that whatever has come out of this, he didn't say it in so much as like directly, but he pretty much disregarded all the testimony that came from the impeachment inquiry hearings.
He completely disregarded.
Said all that stuff is just like hearsay almost. The whistleblower, hearsay. The testimony from the fact witnesses, hearsay. Can't be verified.
He dismissed the request, the question by the reporter, and saying, "Well, hey, you just like asked me saying like what you know like how come I can't say it a different way?" What? No. The issue is the word corruption. Like that's a specific thing. You, along with virtually every single member of the Republican Party, especially that are on these committees, have consistently stated that Trump was interested in rooting out corruption, especially as it relates to Ukraine. But we saw that nowhere in the unofficial transcript, the summary of the phone call. We saw that nowhere to be found whatsoever. All we saw was, hey, help out us, the country. By the country, I mean me. Look into CrowdStrike and look into the Bidens, stone cold corrupt Bidens. There was nothing about actual corruption. So why do you keep saying that? Oh,
We also don't see any talk about corruption in Ukraine from Trump until September of this year. Until this whole dust up. He had never mentioned the words corruption in Ukraine. Not once. Not in a speech, not in a tweet. Until September of this year. You know who else kind of was crickets about it? Republicans. So why all of a sudden...
What happened in September? September. That was just a couple months ago. About a couple months ago.
Something involving a whistleblower?
Oh, a whistleblower going to Congress.
Going to the Inspector General.
Right, Inspector General. And then... that information, well, not the information specifically, not the details, but the information that there was a whistleblower that information being made to Congress or or relayed to Congress, then Congress effectively saying that they're going to get the information. And so they're making a request, or actually a demand, because they shall have that information.
And this request and the knowledge of this whistleblower complaint wasn't secret.
Nope.
And then what happened 2 days later?
Well, the whistleblower...
sorry. Not 2 days later, but
so the whistleblower,
after the whistleblower complaint, they started investigating.
The ICIG.
ICIG, yeah.
I believe that was September 9th. September 10th. Well, actually, no. The Congress found out about it September 9th. September 10th, they're saying, nope, we're demanding to see it.
See this.
September 11th, the security assistance to Ukraine got released. And again, after this point, Trump makes comments about Ukrainian corruption.
Not until that point. Not until that point.
Just a coincidence. All right. one more clip, and again, this was after the hearing, and this is by good old Representative Louis Gohmert. I can't really set this up in any real way. It's Louis Gohmert. If you know anything about Representative Louis Gohmert, you know he's a clown act, and here he is on stage.
And so all I got to say is, if you love America, mamas, don't let your babies grow up to go to Harvard or Stanford Law School.
Wow. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Like Harvard and Stanford specifically, not law school, just Harvard and Stanford specifically. You can go to any other law school and he would be fine with it. Right. Louis would be fine with it if you went to any other law school in the country. Yes. But Harvard and Stanford, nah, that's a no-go.
Now, to put it in context, it is because, I mean, I'm sure anybody could assume that it was because of the constitutional experts that were given testimony on Wednesday. But specifically, Noah Feldman. He is the individual that's from Harvard. And then Pamela S. Carlin, she is from Stanford. So I guess those two were the ones that really did the most talking. I guess they were the ones that delivered the most testimony. There was also Michael Gaillard as well, who is from the University of North Carolina, but he was third, I guess, in terms of talking time, if you're talking about the Democratic constitutional experts. So I guess those two offended somebody like Louis Gohmert the most, so that's why, hey, mamas, don't send your kids, hide your wives. Don't send your kids to Harvard or Stanford. Just because, I guess, just because they offended him. I don't think anybody can be offended by those words, though. I really don't. Like, I mean, even if you're a current student at Stanford or Harvard, if you're if you're a veteran, I mean, if you've been there before, if you graduated before, alumni, I don't believe that diss or that attempted insult by Louis Gohmert is resonating. Because again, Louis Gohmert is a clown act. He has showcased that multiple times throughout his career as a United States representative.
This is one of those instances where he's making a point, right? In order to, like, I guess, to devalue the testimony that we heard, and using the most ridiculous reason. The most. Like, there's something wrong with those universities, and this is the people that come out of those universities. So it's like, instead of actually challenging anything they have to say, you just say, there's a problem with the universities they came out of, and that's why we heard what we heard today, and it was despicable. And the problem is the universities, and it's just a shame that these universities would produce individuals like this. The problem with that is, you ever heard of someone called Neil Gorsuch? You ever heard of that individual before? Who is he?
Isn't he a current... Give me a second. I'm trying to think. He's a current United States Supreme Court Justice? Is that right? Did I hit it? Did I get it?
Oh, you hit it. You hit it.
Where's he from? I assume he went to law school.
He went to multiple schools, but he did go to Harvard Law School.
What? Shut your mouth.
No, he did. You know who else went to Harvard Law School? This will blow your mind.
All right, I'm ready.
I'll give you a hint. First name Mike.
Well, in this context.
First name Mike. That's your hint. That's your hint. There's a lot of Mikes.
There's a lot, but I'm in this context.
In this situation.
It couldn't be. Pompeo? Oh my goodness, man. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Amazing. And that Jesse Lee Peterson.
Yeah, that's Jesse Lee Peterson. Amazing. That's why, again, this is not offensive coming from this particular mamas.
Especially like considering what he's applying about his own Republican colleagues.
Exactly. So that's what we have from that hearing. And again, it was very long. It was a lot to take in. There was a lot of testimony, and there were a lot of committee members that had questions. They had statements to make. It was very long. I mean, it went from, I believe it started at about 10 a.m., I think, and it went past 7 p.m., I believe. And what made it even longer were the Republicans on the committee. So starting right at the beginning of the hearing, Republicans attempted many times, and they were successful. What they did was they wanted to call for procedural motions. They wanted to call roll call votes. And that really held up the process. It made it drag along. If you were watching it on any channel, really CNN, that's where I was watching it, but any channel, they would have to cut away because there was such a long break of no activity, no nothing. So that was the Republican attempt to make this seem like an illegitimate process, to make it seem like this was a nothing show, a nothing burger. And what it ultimately did, I would assume what it ultimately did was it caused some people probably to turn away from it, turn the channel and not pay attention, because who would want to just see a whole bunch of procedural motions, roll call votes? That's not what anybody came for. They actually wanted to see some testimony. So they were probably successful to some degree, but it was clear what the objective was on the Republican front. So, like I said, but it was very long. So coming out of that hearing now, here we are on Thursday. And so now we have some news. Nancy Pelosi, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, she announced earlier today that she is asking or instructing or directing Democratic House committee members to proceed with articles of impeachment. So that was the big news of today. So I assume they're going to get started on debating this issue and I guess deciding on which articles of impeachment are going to be drafted. And then at that point, when they have come to that conclusion and actually have, written these articles up, then it will come to a vote. So we still have a long time to go. Still, even with Nancy Pelosi's announcement, it's still, I would assume it still is going to take some weeks before this is actually voted on and before President Trump is actually officially impeached. So that is where we are right now. There was one moment during Nancy Pelosi's press conference, and I believe that was during the end, in which a reporter had asked her a question that seemed to perturb Nancy Pelosi, and that was if she hated Donald Trump. And the reporter, he seemed to believe that this was a valid question that he should be asking of Nancy Pelosi. And so we have a clip of how Pelosi responded.
The president is a coward when it comes to helping our kids who are afraid of gun violence. I think he is cruel when he doesn't deal with helping our dreamers, of which we're very proud. I think he's in denial about the climate crisis. However, that's about the election. This is about the election. Take it up in the election. This is about the Constitution of the United States and the facts that lead to the president's violation of his oath of office. And as a Catholic, I resent your using the word hate in a sentence that addresses me. I don't hate anyone. I was raised in a way that is a heart full of love, and always prayed for the president. And I still pray for the president. I pray for the president all the time. So don't mess with me when it comes to words like that.
I mean,
Nancy, get your gun out, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I saw, some people on Twitter applauding how strong that was, and quite frankly, I didn't like her answer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like her answer.
Well, probably part of her answer.
I didn't like part of her answer. I don't. The fact that she prays for Donald Trump, whatever. Who cares? Like she's a Catholic.
Like that. Yeah,
whatever. Like she's a Catholic, so how dare you? Number one, I do think it was an appropriate question. It's an appropriate question based on the arguments that Republicans have introduced. That's the only reason I think it's a valid question.
Right.
Only because Republicans have presented this whole impeachment inquiry as one that has its foundations in, Democrats just hate Donald Trump for no reason, and that's why they're going after Donald Trump. So I think it's a legitimate question. Usually when someone is walking away or their first inclination is to walk away, which it did look like, and then when you come back, it usually is not going to end up good. When you're already walking away.
Yeah, you got me back here?
It's not going to end up good.
Yeah.
Like, all she had to say was, like, I understand the question. Like, she should know. I think she just kind of like, it was a knee-jerk reaction. I think if she thought about it, she'd realize, oh, wait a second, that reporter's probably asking that based on arguments that Republicans have issued.
Right.
So I would have answered that a lot differently. I would have said, absolutely not. I mean, this is about evidence. This is about his behavior. And actually, it doesn't matter what we think of him. It doesn't matter our personal opinions or our personal feelings about Donald Trump or anyone else. This whole process has to do with balance of power. This whole process has to do with holding Trump accountable. That's what Congress is here to do. They're here to, hold the president accountable. That's separation of powers. That's what they're here to do. It has nothing to do with hate or some kind of feelings. We're investigating a situation. That's it. That's how she should have answered it.
See, I think it was a ridiculous question, but an appropriate question. So that I agree with you that it's appropriate because, like you said, Republican members of these committees especially have made the case that, one, this is a predetermined process. Jim Jordan said that because of the hate that Democrats hold for President Trump and how they've had, have wanted to get President Trump out since day one. So they hate him. So I think it's a ridiculous question because, again, points into what you said, because it doesn't matter how they personally feel about him. It matters what he actually did, and did he violate his oath? Did he violate his oath? Did he violate the office? Did he abuse his power? That's what it has to do with that. It does nothing to do with their personal issues or their personal feelings of Donald Trump. It has to do with his actual actions. So, again, it's a ridiculous question, but it's appropriate for Nancy Pelosi to answer and to respond, hey, no, it has nothing to do with that. And she did. So I like the first part of the answer, me personally. And again, I feel like you because her pointing to her Catholic background and her religion, how she still prays for President Trump. She doesn't hate anybody. It really doesn't do anything for me. But I will admit that I'm sure it does something for other people, because we have to admit, again, that there's a lot of people that are deeply religious, they're devout in this country, and for her to express how she does not hate the president, she just has differences with him. And she laid out how the differences that she spoke to were political, but this is not that. That is related to the election that we're going to have in 2020. But this is not about that. This is about him abusing his power. This is about us holding that president accountable. So again, overall, I like their answer. It didn't do anything for me when she referenced religion, but I can see how certain people probably would, that message would resonate with. So that's where we're at. I would say one more thing about Jonathan Turley, who again was the Republican constitutional expert. I wonder if Senate Republicans, well, you know what? I can't say Senate Republicans because Senate Republicans are going to have to be muted, actually, because Senate Republicans are not going to have the ability to speak during the trial because they're going to be the jury.
Yeah.
So they have to sit quiet, actually. All the Republicans, all the Democrats that are in the Senate are going to have to sit there quiet and just listen and take it in. Afterwards, of course, they can speak, and I'm sure that they will have media appearances. But I wonder if the effort going forward to protect Donald Trump, to defend Donald Trump, is going to be similar to what Jonathan Turley tried to do. Because it wasn't about that, the phone call was perfect. Oh, President Trump didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't about that. It was just that Turley's argument was, one, this is moving way too fast. You don't have the goods yet. If you actually went to court, then you would have obstruction if the court ruled in your favor, and then President Trump still didn't comply with the subpoenas and the subpoena requests and the lawful order of the court. So I just wonder if that's going to be the next tactic by these Republicans, because I can't imagine that the way they're going about things right now is going to work for the long haul. I can't imagine that.
I think like people like Turley, to me, like his approach and his admission. His approach is an admission that, okay, damn it, he fucked up. Trump fucked up. But what can I offer, not as a defense, but what can I offer as some sort of rationale to discourage this whole process, even though I'm pretty much admitting Trump is, one, guilty of something, and two, I'm admitting that Congress has the power to investigate. So now I have to defer to some sort of emotional appeal. Like there's some sort of, pre-anger, pre-madness. There's some pre-madness that is a part of all this. And all this is going to do is make people madder. Like that's where this has gone. He sees like the reality here, but that's the only way he can go with this. It just seems as if that's a very stark admission to me without actually admitting it.
Yeah.
That Trump did something wrong, because he kind of said Trump did something wrong.
Now, briefly, we can, because look, again, I noted that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi made this announcement and going forward with it, going forward with the impeachment process, going forward with filing or drafting articles of impeachment. Do you think that now is the time to do that? Do you think it's too soon? Because, I mean, there's obviously would be different opinions on this. I'm not so sure that this is the right time to do it.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not so sure either. It's not about whether, Trump's approach to this Ukrainian aid and holding the aid and, desiring Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden. It's more about, is that enough? Is that enough?
Yeah.
Like, what about those other things? Like,
Right.
even the Republican brought it up, emoluments. That was Collins.
Right.
Like, oh, well, you brought it up. They didn't. Like, so why not wait on that?
That's
why
what
not
I'm...
wait on, like, why not wait on the business records, the business financial records, and the tax records, which are two different things.
Right.
Why not wait on those two things? Or are they just like hiding their hand? I don't know.
Now, look, I wouldn't say that. I guess I wouldn't say that they have to wait on these things, because at this point we don't know how long that wait will be.
That wait will be.
If the Supreme Court decides to take the case, because Donald Trump has appealed to the Supreme Court, and so the Supreme Court put a hold. They put a hold on the Democrats in Congress, the congressional Democrats, obtaining Donald Trump's financial records. So I believe it was today, actually, that President Trump's legal team had today was the deadline, December 5th, I believe, it was the deadline for them to, file their opening briefs. So we don't know if the Supreme Court is actually going to take the case. If they do end up taking the case, this could still last a long time. Now, it won't last as long as maybe was expected, because it will, if they do take the case, I think it will still happen in this session, because they do get a break.
Holidays.
Yeah, but it still would be expected that it would carry far into the months of 2020. So maybe this wouldn't actually come up for a ruling until April, May, June, something like that. So if you're Nancy Pelosi, if you're the congressional Democrats, if you're the impeachment investigators, do you really want to wait that long? I'm not sure.
Yeah, because
about
they couldn't control, a whistleblower complaint. They couldn't control that.
Right, they couldn't. But what I would say is that,
and part of the reason why
if the Supreme Court does not take it, though, if the Supreme Court does not take the case, then I wouldn't want them to go forward without having that information prior to drafting the articles of impeachment.
And part of the reason why, the timing is the way it is, especially with these two issues being stalled in the courts, is because Democrats didn't have control.
Right. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely see how it plays out. This is the process, and we'll see if anything else is revealed in this meantime before the articles are actually drafted. There are still things that are out there. Of course, again, the financial records. There's this Nunes thing, Nunes' involvement with Lev Parnas. There's Giuliani speaking to OMB,
Hannity,
the call records.
Hannity is stuck in this. You have a former journalist that wrote for The Hill who was involved in this, which he was just a propaganda arm.
Yeah.
That's why he's in contact with Nunes.
But Trump actually fielded a question about Giuliani speaking to OMB, and that's the Office of Management and Budget. And of course, Mick Mulvaney is, I believe he's the director, of OMB. Also, he's splitting his time. He's the acting White House Chief of Staff. But of course, that hold on the security assistance came through OMB. So it's kind of weird that the president's personal attorney is actually having conversations with OMB, and it doesn't seem like there's a legitimate answer. And Trump was asked about that, and he said, "I don't know. You're gonna have to ask him, But I don't know. I don't know. Probably nothing. It's probably nothing." Okay. Nunes talking to Lev Parnas in April.
Phone records.
Yeah,
phone records. They're phone records.
Why are you talking to Parnas? Why are you talking to a Giuliani goon?
Well, what answer did he give when he was asked, like, why are you talking to them?
He didn't give an answer.
He kind of did give an answer. He said, like, I don't know why, random people are calling my phone. He said, I don't recall that name. I don't recall that name.
He said that in December he did not speak to him. That's per the lawsuit that he filed against CNN for reporting this story.
But then when Hannity was asking about the call records that released, he said, I don't know. I don't remember that name. Not only do I not remember the name, like I don't remember, somebody like that calling me. And he's like, I don't know when random people call my phone. And I'm just like, wait a second. The call records don't just indicate that Parnas called you. It listed 2 other instances where you called him. Right. So you are calling these random people? The random people have your phone number? Like, dude, like, come on. Like, is he expecting? He's really expecting us to believe this?
And also about Nunes. We don't have the clip to show you, but recently on Fox News, their legal analyst, at least one of them, Greg Jarrett, oh man, he's doing the best job that he can to try to protect Devin Nunes. He said that he said that it's possible that Devin Nunes actually did not speak with Lev Parnas.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't
know.
We don't know if it was Devin Nunes that actually spoke to Lev Parnas, even though the call records indicate that he was in contact with Lev Parnas, and not just in contact, Lev Parnas called him and he called Lev Parnas. So, but we don't know if it was actually him making the call.
Yeah.
Even though it was his phone. Maybe it was what is he saying, as an aide?
Yeah, so it's insinuating that somebody else could have possibly
picked up the phone.
Devin Nunes' phone.
No, picked up the phone. Not only called Lev Parnas, knew Lev Parnas. So somebody else.
I spoke for minutes.
And so somebody.
Not just once.
Yeah.
Not just once.
Somebody else now.
Yes. That has access.
That has
to
access.
Devin Nunes.
Just happen to know the same. Like just happen to know Lev Parnas. First of all, Lev Parnas is not a regular name.
No.
Not like John Smith.
No.
Or Justin Green.
No.
Or Michael Adams. It's not a regular name. You remember that name.
And also, we have words reportedly coming from Lev Parnas, which implicates Devin Nunes.
Hey.
So we have these two things together. But Devin Nunes wasn't on the phone with him?
But Devin Nunes says, you can't trust this guy. Why are you trusting somebody who's indicted? And I was like, says the person who was talking to said indicted person.
We have the phone records, though. And your phone was definitely in communication with Lev Parnas' phone as well. So it just seems as though, I mean, if anybody's lying, and we have a phone, or if we had phone call records, which indicates that there was a connection made between you two multiple times. But you're the only one saying that, nah, I don't know that joker. I don't know that dude. It wasn't me. And other people saying, well, yes, there's a call, but we don't know. We don't know if it was actually Devin Nunes, though. He might have got robbed that day.
Adam Schiff actually brought this up in his report that he issued because the official impeachment hearing inquiry kind of came to an end, so he had to issue a report. He actually brought this up. And there's a reason why he brought this up, because Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman were a part of this whole scheme to smear Yovanovitch and get her removed. So those two figures are involved in this whole Ukraine situation. And it's important to bring him up because he is a ranking member in the House Intelligence Committee, and he was the one questioning witnesses and issuing his own theories. So he shouldn't have been there.
No, he should not. He shouldn't have got involved. No, he shouldn't.
That's definitely a conflict of interest.
Yes. He should have recused himself. Definitely. But he didn't. Anyway, we'll see. Again, we'll just see how this all shakes out. If there is more information, because look, there's a lot of information that's out there, no doubt. And you know what? One thing that we didn't even address as well, we don't know when one particular judge is going to rule on if Bolton and Kupperman are going to be allowed to testify.
Yeah.
Which I cannot imagine a case where the judge is going to say, no, you can't. I can't imagine that the judge will say that.
Yeah, because what would be the opinion that comes along with the ruling? What would be the opinion?
So again, this is more information. You definitely want to hear from Bolton. You want to hear from Kupperman.
The Paul Bolton, the person that described this whole scheme as a drug deal.
As a drug deal. And he was so offended by it that he directed he directed Fiona Hill to talk to the
get your boy.
council.
Talk to the council. Maybe you might want to pull this dude aside, Sondland, and holler at him.
Exactly. Go back down there, see what's going on, report back to me. She reported back to him. Go see.
So Bolton himself even knew
NSC
something
council
was going down that wasn't supposed to be. All drug deals aren't bad, but just thinking about it from Bolton's point of view, he's saying that this is not cool. There's something illegal going down.
Right. Yeah, man. Like I said, man, that's why I say, it's possible that this is a little bit premature by Nancy Pelosi to go ahead at this point. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they're assuming other information will come out during this process. I don't know. Like I said, I just think there's a lot more information that could presumably be gathered
to make a better case.
A better case, and not and in a timely fashion as well. Not in we got to wait on the Supreme Court for 4, 5, 6 months.
Also, there would just probably not going to be any testimony that's going to be necessary, really.
Right.
If anything, it's just going to be maybe some financial experts. just to kind of go down the line with the things, but really, once you get the financial records, everything is right there.
But another thing is that Parnas is willing to testify. At least reportedly, he's willing to cooperate. He has been cooperating. He's willing to testify.
And he's connected to all this because he was.
So why hasn't he testified yet, though?
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of questions.
I think because
he's caught up in his own thing.
No. I think the judges in the case are reviewing information that's not considered sensitive or proprietary or like what is it? What's the word I'm looking for?
Not confidential, but classified, maybe.
No, that too, but something else. Like yeah. But yeah, I think they're just reviewing all the documents because there's so much shit that they found. They found over I think it was 9 gigabytes worth of audio, video, and stuff, pictures, and all kinds of stuff. They found laptops, tablets, cell phones, and so financial information that linked to 50 different accounts. So there's a lot of stuff that might be sensitive that they don't want out. That they're trying to sift through.
Exculpatory?
Yeah, something like that. I can't outline the legal term.
But yeah, like I said, there's a lot more to go, and I'm sure there's going to be much more to talk about, given where we are, given the information we already know. We may be done with the hearing phase, though, and that's something that Republicans were lamenting yesterday as well on Wednesday, because the Judiciary Committee is held in high regard, and what the Republicans were lamenting was the fact that it seemed as though Jerry Nadler, who was the chairman, was going to take the findings of the House Intelligence Committee and rubber stamp it. Just say, okay, well, we accept these findings and then proceed. Which Republicans, they wanted to call fact witnesses as well, and possibly the same fact witnesses. They wanted to do their own, investigative action as well. And it does not seem like that's going to occur. So, sorry, bad news for you. But oh well. But yeah, that's what we have for you tonight. We did get through a little bit of that Hillary Clinton stuff, and
we talked about it. Talked about it at the beginning.
Yeah,
when we were kind of setting it up.
We have it depends, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna open this up for calls, and depending on if we have enough callers, whatever, we do have some screenshots, because there's of course some animosity, because as you recall, on the last program on Tuesday, we talked about Jimmy Dore.
Jim.
Yeah, we talked about Jimmy Dore, and we talked about his argument that President Donald Trump was actually
he just wanted to investigate something.
He was actually, honestly, trying to investigate, or trying to get Ukraine to investigate if Ukraine was involved in the hacking of the DNC. That's what he legitimately wanted to find out.
He was just trying to find out facts.
Yes.
Himself. With his own attorney.
Yes. So, of course, we poured cold water all over that. We called bullshit. It was,
I believe, Jimmy trying so hard? That's the question.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why is Jimmy trying so hard? And he's not being rational. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
And all we're doing is pointing it out.
Like you said it was a bad faith argument.
Yeah.
I think it was very disingenuous. We did label the video and something about running interference for Donald Trump, and I stand by that.
Oh hell yeah!
I stand by that, because Jimmy Dore would have to know what President Trump's motivations were, because President Trump said him himself. You keep pointing out that he talked about the Bidens being stone cold corrupt, and I keep mentioning that he even invited China to do the investigation of Hunter Biden as well.
Stole billions from China.
So nobody put the words the Bidens in Trump's mouth. He did it. He put it out himself. Giuliani talked about Ukraine and the Bidens. I mean, nobody made them do these things. If it was really about corruption, if it was really about honestly looking into the 2016 election, and CrowdStrike, then you wouldn't, first of all, you wouldn't be buying into a conspiracy theory that has no evidence relating to Ukraine's involvement.
No, it's evidence because it's possible. It's in your head and it's your imagination. It's a theory that you came up with. So therefore it's possible. So that should mean investigations, right? But see, let's just say that's true. Let's just say there is some sort of evidence. It's actually not the president's job to unilaterally initiate something like that. I don't understand why Jimmy Dore, anyone else, doesn't see a problem with that. The president of the United States unilaterally determining what particular people to go after, making a decision outside of everyone else in the government and going about something and using his own personal attorneys to enact an agenda. That's what an authoritarian does. But you're okay with that. You're okay with that. Tanya, I did see that. I did see the whole William Barr comments about people respecting police. I did see that. I didn't see the whole speech, but it was very fashy. It was very fashy. It was very fashy. He said something like people need to respect police or not benefit from their services. Something like that. I was like, holy shit. And he related it to respecting the military. He kind of segued into respecting police by talking about the military first. So he related to pretty much said police are occupying force, occupying military force that need to be respected. And if you don't respect the police, then hey, maybe you shouldn't benefit from their services. I was like, holy damn. This is the great and most honorable Donald Trump's Attorney General.
Hold on, man. We had some failed graphics. Jan Morgan saying
at the beginning, I think.
Oh, at the beginning.
At the beginning.
Yeah, we had some failed graphics at the beginning. Yeah, put up the call-in number at the beginning. Look, okay, so we don't have any calls right now. So again, we had a little bit of a, of course, people have their feelings about Jimmy Dore, and when he gets criticized, people have some kind of vitriolic reaction. And so I took a few screenshots that I wanted to, hold up. I don't want to play that. But I took a few screenshots and I wanted to just kind of put them out there. And I have no, I don't feel any way about this. But anyway, you know what? Let's get to the call first. Let's get to the call first. All right. So we have a caller calling from the 218 area code, and let's hope that we don't run into any technical difficulties again. All right, caller, you're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, this is the Relic, Christopher. This is Artificial Morphous Man. I have many names, and I just want to say that I love you guys' dialogue. I love you guys' opinion. I love your take and sarcasm and humor. It's uplifting. I really like that. And I have two questions. So, so do you think Nancy Pelosi's remarks are going to hurt Bernie? Do you think her remarks are going to hurt the Democratic Party going forward? Because she obviously was drunk or something. And then my other question is about Bernie being number one in California, and how the mainstream media is going to spin it and neglect it and try and smear him. And so those are two questions, and I'm kind of drunk, so anyway, I'll let you guys have the field.
All right. Hope you're drinking good. Good stuff. Well, I think you said it in the second option, neglect. that's really all they have to do. They don't have to spin it any type of way. They just will neglect it. I haven't heard them say anything about it. And this is not the only time that he's been at the top of the polls in California. We've talked about that before, and that was at least 2 months ago or so, where he was on top of the polls. And we talked about how Kamala Harris was below Andrew Yang in that poll. So yeah, I think all they have to do is just ignore it, and they will. Regarding if Nancy Pelosi's announcement will hurt Bernie Sanders, I don't know. I mean, there's many people who, I guess postulate that it could hurt Bernie Sanders, especially, but it could hurt any of the senators that are going to be in these proceedings. That'd be Klobuchar, Booker, if he still is there, and also, actually, there's no more Kamala Harris anymore. But there is one more senator. I forgot about him. Actually, CNN forgot about him when they were talking about him. I think this was yesterday, and that's Michael Bennet. He's still in the race. But Bernie Sanders, look, I assume that the whole trial phase, given other reference points, other impeachments, it's probably going to take, a month, 2 months, something like that. It depends on when this thing really gets started. It will hold up these senators from actually being really engaged and being on the ground and actually being present for these campaign rallies. What I do know is that Bernie Sanders has the strongest ground game, though. In the race, he has the strongest ground game. He has the highest amount of volunteers. He has the highest amount of actual bodies that are actually supporting him.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree with that. Bernie has the biggest strong ground game.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the most volunteers. He's got the people behind him.
Right.
And I think the electorate, people that are actually going to vote, I think they're they're catching on, and I think they think that he's the only non-corporate candidate, and he's for the people, and the people are a lot more than the 1%. So I think Bernie's got that going for him, and his strong show up in California. I mean, that's fucking awesome. Right. Pardon my French, but so the thing with Pelosi is she's all drunk on stage, saying oh yeah, we need to impeach Trump. Oh yeah, I'm a Catholic. Yeah, she's going down. I think she's just gonna go down, and I think there's a movement in the country where these diehard Republicans, that are in their 60s and 70s, I think they're dying out, and I think that the millennials are going to take control, and Bernie's got the youth vote. So I remain optimistic, and a lot of people are going, oh no, Bernie can't win, blah blah blah. And I'm saying, no, he's the only one that can win. But anyway, if you have other colors, I'm kind of drunk, so I'm gonna sign off.
All right, man. Good to hear from you, Christopher. I'm glad that Christopher feels optimistic, and but to a degree, I do as well.
But you still have concerns.
I still have concerns, and just talking about the millennials as well. Look, there's horrible millennials out there. There's conservative millennials out there, just as bad as the older people. Because who do you think they learned from? So that doesn't really endear me. It doesn't really give me a lot of hope. But still, I'm somewhat optimistic. I won't say I'm at the point I was at in 2016.
Oh, true that.
Because we know what happened. So, but like I said, I really do hope that Bernie comes away with the nomination. This right here. Before we get to the next,
because it relates to.
This is just real short.
Yeah, it relates to what Christopher brought up. About,
what website is this? BuzzFeed.
Yeah, BuzzFeed said actually there's a Republican, Jason Smith, introduced legislation. today,
wow.
today, are trying to force the Democratic candidates to recuse themselves from Trump's Senate trial.
That makes absolutely no sense.
Because he says that they've already reached their conclusion. I was like, but wouldn't you say that about any Democrat?
Haven't you reached your conclusion? Republicans are already stating that they're not going to remove him from office. Oh, come, stop it. Stop it. All right, let's get to 267. You're on the air live with LTMB.
Hey, it's Phil from Philly. How y'all doing?
Good,
Phil,
man.
what's up,
Phil?
man?
I'm doing good. I'm gonna keep it kind of quick because I don't even remember because I was literally like on David Pakman's like he was live streaming and I literally called in and I was going to challenge him because he's one of those closet Elizabeth Warren people and he won't admit it. And I literally called in the second he opened up the line, and of course he didn't take my call. But the thing is, I've called in before, and he knows I'm one of those like strong Bernie people, so he could have my number saved as like because he saved some of his like previous callers. So I don't know if it's just
call from your mama phone. Call from your mama phone, your girlfriend phone, man.
Yeah, man.
No, I could call from my roommate phone, and if he actually that's a good idea. I might actually do that.
Wait a second.
You inspired
wait a second.
Oh man!
Tell him we sent you. Tell him we sent you. I was just playing.
And you know what? Before I get to my question, I would actually, and I'm one of those people who like, even though I do call him Michelle sometimes, I still listen because I like to hear what, slightly more moderate Democratic type people are talking about, what they're talking about. But I will respect him more if he just came out and, admitted it, because it's just like with Ayanna Pressley, she endorsed Warren or whatever, and people are mad at her. I don't fault her for that because she's not like Ilhan and AOC, and
exactly.
So and she's from that district, so it's like I don't, if there was some slightly less progressive person, like me personally, if I was in that position, I wouldn't do it. But like for most people, I wouldn't hold that against them because in certain situations, like if I'm in the same district as somebody, or like it's like, hey, it's biased, and like I said, she's not progressive anyways. I don't care. But I was so focused on that conversation, I forgot some of the stuff I would have said to y'all. But anyway, my main question was, how do y'all think Bernie will do on Super Tuesday? And I just wanted to tell the callers what states are on that day, because I was looking up all the states on Super Tuesday, and looking at them, I'm thinking Bernie. I don't know if it favors Bernie. Like, I don't want to sound too, gung ho, and because like I'm not a poll worshiper, so like I take him with a grain of salt. Even though he will outperform certain polls, it's not. It's lazy to just assume in every single state he's always going to outperform it. Like it's just, and even sometimes he might outperform it by like only 1 or 2% or what. Like it's not, so I'm not one of those delusional Bernie bros. But when you look at like the Biden Southern Firewall, like I thought it was a bunch of those states, but it's like Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee's in there, which I can't remember how Bernie did, and then Oklahoma. But there's a lot of states, like of course Vermont, obviously Vermont, on that day. Democrats abroad, Bernie. I think he cleaned Hillary's clock, although that's probably like only 3 delegates. But Utah, I'm not sure how Utah. Maybe
he won Utah.
I don't know how that.
I'm pretty sure he won Utah.
Okay.
He won Utah and Oklahoma,
and then,
I'm pretty sure.
And Oklahoma, okay. But I was going to say, I think his path to victory is it's through California and Texas. Because I didn't know Texas was an open primary state. And when you just look at, well, I mean, this is depending on how Biden and Warren do when it gets closer. But like, if it's anywhere close, I mean, if he gets even like a small percentage of like independents to, you know, because it's not like they gotta do work and, you know, re-register or even like a random Republican that might want to vote for him. They can literally just get up and, you know, and Trump is it's not like a Republican is even thinking about voting in a primary, because Trump is he's in a lot of Republican states aren't even having a primary, because it's like, you know, it's Joe Walsh and Bill Wells, but they're not going to, you know. If I was Republican, I wouldn't even vote. I would literally just not vote if they're all trash. But if, like, let's say Biden is at like 19% or whatever, or 15, and Warren's at 15 or something, and Bernie's at 15, 16, like those extra few percentage points, like that can give him a clear win on top of like other states, like Colorado. I think he's going to get Minnesota. I think he's going to get. I doubt the whole Klobuchar thing. I don't see that really doing much. And then Virginia, I'm not. I would give him a pretty good chance. I'm in PA, so it's kind of like it's somewhat Biden country, which is annoying.
Right.
It's like Biden/Warren country. Like, it's weird. Like there are a lot of like, there's like a solid base of Bernie people in Philly, but like I feel like there's a lot of like the suburbs, a lot of Warren people. It's close to Delaware. It's a lot of Biden people. It's a lot of you know, a lot of boomers in Philly. Black boomers might not really be up on Bernie, or they're kind of like, even my aunt. My family's progressive, but my aunt, she watches Morning Joe, so she literally just has a bias against Bernie, even though she's really, you know, I wouldn't say she's like she's not, you know, I think she voted for Obama. Like, I guess she may be center left, but I don't think she's too into politics anyway. But you know, PA, maybe Bernie might have to do a little work just because of those regional biases. But like I said, he does have a good strong little base. Like, I know there's 30 to 50,000 people from PA that don't, because I get the little, like, once you donate a certain amount, you get, or I guess I'm from PA, so that's probably why they email me specific stuff like, oh, there's 30,000 people from PA, and you know. But yeah, I want to know how y'all think
the states that are going to be on Super Tuesday, because we talked about this a little bit before, and you know, it is, you know, definitely an opportunity for somebody to somewhat pull away from the rest, especially noting that California is, you know, one of those states in Super Tuesday. So, you know, the states, I think, you know,
I think that's 10% of the delegates alone.
Yeah, it's the biggest prize. So he definitely has a chance to come away with the win in California, Colorado, which he won in 2016, Maine, Minnesota, Oklahoma, I don't know about Texas. I'm not sure. Maybe it's definitely
it all
possible.
Depends on.
And even Maine, I think he might get Maine.
He got Maine in 2016 as well.
And of course, this is kind of looking far out based on who is still currently in the race too. Like, if it's possible.
Oh, yeah, because even the Texas polls still have Beto in the thing. That's how old they are.
So I'm hoping this is the case, but I doubt it. Biden, he's probably going to make it to Super Tuesday. Unfortunately, he'll make it. And again, like I think Gene in the comment section said something about Bernie possibly winning New Hampshire and South Carolina. I'll say New Hampshire.
Yeah.
But maybe not South
New
Carolina.
Hampshire, yeah,
that all
I can see
depends.
that.
That all depends on if Biden is still there, which I think he will be. Unfortunately, that's
because
the
those
case.
were one of the first four states.
That's one of the first four states.
I have no, I have no dreams really. Okay, about Bernie Sanders winning South Carolina. Hey, anything's possible. He is not polling as bad as he did, when it was just.
I just want him to have a good showing.
Him and Hillary Clinton, but I am under no belief that Bernie's gonna come away with the win here in South Carolina. I'm just not. That would be. I would be completely shocked by Bernie Sanders winning South Carolina, given what we know about South Carolina and the Democrats that are here. Nah, I don't buy that at all. I don't buy that.
Yeah,
it's unfortunate.
But the thing is, But if he did win South Carolina, if he won 3 of the first 4 states, one of those being South, like let's say he won, let's say he like won Iowa or second in Iowa, first in New Hampshire, first in Nevada, first in South Carolina, or some mix of that. But the thing is, Super Tuesday is literally, because South Carolina is on, I think it's a leap year. It's on the 29th of February. Super Tuesday is literally like 3 days after.
Yeah.
It's literally March 3rd. So it's like all that. I mean, they're not, the positive press isn't going to be what it normally would be because it's Bernie. So obviously they're going to downplay it. Because even if you notice the fundraising, all the fundraising articles, although I'm sure normal people aren't, Googling fundraising articles every day, but I have so much downtime at work. That's what I do. But they don't cover fundraising the same anymore. Like they literally, like not either Politico or one of those, not Real Clear Paul. I think it is Politico. They literally, when you go on their fundraising page and they have all the nice little looking graphs and stuff, they literally count Steyer's self-funding. They don't technically count it as like his donations, but on the graph, it like obviously it says like, oh, self-funding or whatever it says. But like they have the graph, the context is set up or it's displayed to you as, oh, funds raised or money brought in, or it's phrased some weird way. And then they have Tom Steyer first and this big, 70 million or however much he's spent so far. And then Bernie second. But I'm just thinking in my head, they don't even want to have a graph. If anytime they can avoid having a visual aid, making it super easy for a viewer, like maybe a boomer who just looks like something like that is more like, it's more, makes more of an impact on how they're receiving the article. Kind of like what MSNBC does with Yang when they'll like completely take them out the picture. But I was thinking in my head, like, they can't even bring themselves to list Bernie first on that.
Yeah.
Just because they don't want to, like, it's just like they're going, because when I looked at the graph, I'm thinking, oh, they're going to put Bernie first, but Warren and Pete are right after, and it's not, they're relatively close, so it's not, and then in the thing, in the graph, I'm thinking they're going to put, they're going to phrase it, Warren and Buttigieg are pretty cool. Like they're going to phrase it in a way that's not, But instead of doing that, they literally put Steyer on top of Bernie. But then you got to read the words to see. Wait a minute, that's self-funding. And then John Delaney, wait, that's self-funding. And there's always
going to be an effort to kind of push him down. There's multiple efforts to do that and not really highlight how well he's doing. Look, in the first 4 states, Bernie Sanders definitely has a chance to come away with at least 3 of them. I think Iowa, New Hampshire, he has very good chances of winning there. He won New Hampshire the last time. He was very close to winning in Iowa the last time, and he was very close in Nevada as well.
0.2% or whatever it was.
Right. So he has a very good chance of coming away with those 3. South Carolina, I don't believe. But still, heading into Super Tuesday.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I think he can come away with some momentum. So, like I said, we'll just see what happens. We got to go, man. Got a couple other callers, but always good to talk to you. Always good to hear your perspective, man.
Oh, and the hashtag for when people black out Bernie, I donate to Bernie, and whenever I'm on streams and stuff, I put Rage Donate, and I just get other Bernie bros. Literally, it's just whenever a Bloomberg or who like a YouTuber does a segment on Bloomberg or something like that, or like Hillary on Howard Stern,
right.
Talking about Bernie. Like literally, I donated him like $3 just because I saw that. Like little things like money. Like I'll literally like. Oh, if I was going to like go to the bar, I'll go to the bar and buy one less drink and the $10 I would have spent or like bought a shot for a friend. I'll literally just in my whatever budget, I'll literally donate $10 real quick to Bernie and be like, I'll skip that shot. Like that's literally because I'm like, we gotta we gotta carry Bernie.
Yeah.
But take it easy, yo.
All right, man.
All right, man. Nice talking to you.
Appreciate you calling in.
Thanks.
All right, let's get to 267. No, that was the last caller. 617 area code. You're on the air live.
Hey, well, Mike, it's Ben. How are you doing?
Good, Ben. How you doing
What's
tonight?
up, man?
Good, man. I'm calling on the hotline and just seeing how things are going. I'll keep it short. I'll keep it short because I'm sure you guys got like one or two more calls too, or still trying to get in. And I just want to talk about the two things. One is this nonsense. I just want to go over it one more time. They keep on saying, well, we're doing this a year before an election. We have to let the public decide. Well, if that's the case, if you want to be true about that, then, even this weasel who's the CBS contributor, the Republican, sort of the Republican witness who just talks about the process and everything, why isn't he condemning the president for all the obstruction? Why isn't he saying, get Rudy Giuliani down here? He'll clear this up in 2 seconds. Why doesn't he say, get Mike Pompeo down here? He'll clear this up in 2 seconds. And so basically what's happening is you can't tell us that we're going to decide and have us do it blind, because people deserve innocent until proven guilty. You deserve the benefit of the doubt. But we're going to bring all of this to light. So that's what we're doing right now. So I know it's a little uncomfortable and people don't like it. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, we're all upset because we lost the election and we've been wanting to get Donald Trump out since day one. Well, guess what? I have wanted to get him out since day one. And I'm not embarrassed to say it. I wanted this loser out of here. As soon as he was elected, I wanted this loser out of here.
Right.
And you know what? Every time he broke the law, I wanted him out.
Yes.
And now they finally have the nerve to do it, and they have to act like they're so upset about it.
Exactly.
I'm pleased.
Even though you wanted him out since he stepped into office, you did not make him go to President Zelensky and ask him to investigate the Bidens. You didn't make him do that.
Certainly not.
And if it's about letting the people decide, why would that only apply to this office? Wouldn't that apply to every office that people vote for? Duncan Hunter got elected. Didn't Duncan Hunter and Christopher Collins got elected? Reelected.
Yeah.
So why did the FBI indict them?
Right.
The FBI indicted them. They didn't let the people
Just
decide.
let the people decide.
Why not let the people decide?
Right. It's ridiculous.
It's such a stupid
Why not,
argument.
let the employers decide.
Yeah.
Let the employers decide. So if you're going to get arrested because, say, you smoked some weed and you live around Jeff Sessions and you got arrested for it, but why would you arrest someone when you could just let their future potential employers decide whether or not to handle
They want to have that person working at their business. I know. It's such a stupid argument. It's a dumb argument because, number one, like I said, they only apply it to the office of the president and no other elected office, because it's about, fulfilling the will of the vote. Then you would apply it to other offices as well, where people vote for the person.
I want to follow up on one thing you said, Ben, because you were saying why didn't this Republican constitutional expert, why wasn't he similarly offended or disgusted by President Trump's actions, his obstruction, not getting Giuliani in there to testify, or Pompeo or Mulvaney or whoever? Like, why aren't you disgusted by the obstruction, right? So I heard on CNN, and I actually took this point to, this might be a pretty good point, that the Democratic members of the House Judiciary Committee may have missed an opportunity to kind of sell that point a little bit. Because if this constitutional law expert is saying that, hey, we're going about these things too fast, and look, well, we don't have all the information. We don't have all of the witnesses that are testifying. We don't have all the documents. You need to hold up. This is not how an impeachment should be done, because we're talking about removing a duly elected president. So what I heard was that maybe they missed the ball here to kind of say, or somebody suggest that, hey, okay, you know what? We'll take that advice. We'll take a pause here. If the Republican members of this committee will agree that Giuliani has to come in to testify, and if you can get him in here to testify, and Pompeo and Mulvaney and everybody that we want to testify, if you can get all the related information that we have requested and subpoenaed, if you want to do that for us, then cool. We don't have to speed through this thing at all. But we need all the information, just like Jonathan Turley said. But they didn't say that. So, it would have been, of course, the Republicans would not have agreed to that, but it would have, I guess it would have sold the idea that this is obstruction by the executive
calling
branch.
their bluff.
Yeah, calling their bluff, yeah.
And now let me ask you one last question. This is kind of what I want to end on. This was like the thing that kind of got me. So this guy, this little weasel, you know, he wants to talk about how this is the fastest impeachment in history. Now, you already disproved that, which is hilarious.
Right.
But let's just say that it was the fastest impeachment, okay? When Mike Tyson destroys somebody in the first 15 seconds of a heavyweight boxing championship match,
right?
Do you say that it was not decisive because he got floored in the first 15 seconds?
That's a pretty good
When you go in and you're on murder one and you had your peers as your jury, and they go in, they deliberate for 30 minutes, and they come back out unanimous. They come back out 30 minutes, and they said in the news, the jury went in, they deliberated for 30 minutes. That's what I call an open and shut case.
That's the open and shut case. If there's proof that the kind of evidence is tainted, if there's proof that the evidence is not credible, if there's proof that testimony wasn't credible, that the witnesses were corrupted, if any of that's true, then maybe they have an argument.
Right.
But they're not even making that argument. They're just saying that it happened too quickly. It's almost like they were too organized. They had everybody's testimony already and lined up. And you know,
I want a do-over.
Yeah, I want a do-over because it was too perfect.
Yeah. And you're bemoaning the obstructionism of the president that you're supporting. You don't see. You don't have all the facts. You don't have all the testimony from all the witnesses. Well, that's because President Trump is not compliant. Oh well, you know, we don't want to talk about that.
Well, I know you guys are old enough to remember that game with like the flawless victories, Mortal Kombat.
Oh
yeah.
So like,
of course.
If you destroy somebody,
finish him.
they and then their defense after is, I didn't even get a hit in, man. That's not fair. I didn't get a hit.
Which people would complain.
And then when you do that finishing move,
right.
And that's kind of where we're at right now. So you know, I know some people just want this to go away, but it's not going to go away. This man needs to go to jail.
Right. So essentially what you're saying is that this is a very juvenile argument that's being made, because I remember certain people, and I'm not calling you out, I don't think we ever played Mortal Kombat, but still, during that age group, you know, middle school, you know, high school even, people are very upset if you defeat them so badly that it's an actual flawless victory, and then you can like chop the head off or whatever like that, send them all the way down like 50 flights of stairs or whatever, you know, all the way down, whatever. But people are really upset about that.
Yo.
But it doesn't mean that the win was illegitimate.
My friends used to get mad at me because I used to use Liu Kang and do the bicycle kick to the face, and they can never stop it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if like you're on the basketball team and you're beating the other team, you're beating the other team like 100 to like 7, and then they just want you to. You know, they want you to just
rage quit,
stand still, but they won't quit.
Yeah.
They won't quit, but they don't want you to do anything.
Right.
So that's what they're doing. And Jim Jordan is disgusting. You know what? His reputation at Ohio State, he is one of the lowest forms of life to be able to have people who he's entrusted to, you know, to look after them. They come to him and tell him that there's a serious problem, not a small problem, a serious problem. And he turns his back on them and lets it continue. And then you have Devin Nunes, who obviously is part of this conspiracy. He should be in the witness stand. And of course, you know, all these guys look so pathetic. And you have them acting like, you know, they have their stands, they have their posters up on the stands. They look like they belong in a subway. And it's more and more juvenile every day. And Collins, when he has to, like, you know, they're doing the roll call that they're the ones who asked for it. He has to like sit back in his chair and huff and puff, and he can't even give like an answer into the microphone like an adult, because he just has to show everyone how upset he is about this process. Such a state of affairs. Yeah. So that was it. But yeah, great show, you guys, and I'll keep on tuning in.
All right, man. Thanks for calling, bro.
Yeah, always good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. I always enjoy the show. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
All right, let's get to what may be the last caller tonight. 678 area code. You are on the air live.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on? Who's this?
This is Duke.
Duke.
I'm from Newton, Georgia.
Oh,
in Georgia. All
Georgia
right.
in the house, man.
Close by.
Yeah.
Where? Yeah.
I just wanted to come and talk to you guys. I've been listening to you for a few months now, and I want to tell you I really enjoy your show and your perspective on things. You know, it helps to get outside perspective.
Right.
Especially because there's not a lot of, well, at least I don't know of a lot of black progressives on YouTube.
Right.
And it's nice to get the opposite, or well, not so much opposite. I mean, you know what I'm saying, but a different opinion than my own.
From another vantage point. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, you guys have this great perspective, and, you know, I love listening to you guys' show. It's so good. Like, a few weeks ago, one of you said something about taking this lady's barbecue card away, and I like to die. Like, I was just busting that.
That was you. Yeah, that was you. That was the Pete Buttigieg gig. The Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the booty bop.
The booty bop.
Oh my goodness, y'all kill me with that.
Yeah, at some point, man, like when we're covering all this stuff, it's serious matters. But sometimes things get so ridiculous, and these politicians try the most, like, kind of superficial and kind of pandering, kind of strategy to appeal to voters. And it's just
it's so ridiculous that
you have to laugh.
You do have to laugh. When we first started, I remember it being, I mean, we were very dry, especially me. I was very like, because I was supposed to, I was trying to be the news guy. You know, I was trying to be the news guy and be like real buttoned up. And so just my whole presentation was so like robotic and dry. And then as it went along, you know, us doing videos together and just conversing with each other, it was not purposeful for us to be like funny, entertaining, or anything like that, laugh on screen, but it just, that's what plays out, because that's what we did before we even started this channel. You know, if we're in the parking lot talking about things, that's how we kind of just converse with each other.
You should see us after the show.
Oh yeah,
like
man.
this is fairly reserved. This is a fairly reserved show
compared to what,
even if we
goes
have
on
like
off
our
screen.
moments here, this is fairly reserved. Like after the show, I'm telling you, we look like little kids. Like we look like little kids. I'm telling you, I be rolling on the floor, like I'm telling you. So
it's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. We have to keep ourselves in check because things will happen like me falling out the chair, because that's happened before. That doesn't happen a lot, but it's somewhere on YouTube if you dig for it.
It is.
I'm slipping out the chair and I'm falling on the floor.
I think what kind of keeps us in this kind of reserve status is the chairs, though. Like if we were doing, because, you know, of course people do whatever, you know, they're on screen, they're standing up while they're being recorded. If we were standing up, I don't think that we could.
Oh, true that.
I don't know if we could get through it.
True that.
Because
Like,
it'd be.
You know, like for the most part, even when we're talking about horrible policies and the horrible rationale that is used to justify policies, yes, it's good to be serious. And for the most part, 99% of the time, we are. But some of the rationale is so ridiculous on either side, whether you're talking about Democrats or Republicans, whether they are serving in office or whether they're candidates. It gets to a point where we can seriously talk about it, but their justification gets ridiculous to the point where it crosses that threshold and it's just comical. It happens more with Republicans than Democrats, but it doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't. No.
Yeah, so obviously this is all serious subject matter, but at some point it just like...
I mean,
sometimes you just gotta do something kind of lighthearted. You gotta kind of lighten the mood a little bit.
Right.
You know, and you guys do that. Y'all do that too.
Yeah, I mean, look, we deal with the serious, we deal with the non-serious, and even, you know, like we're saying, you know, even with the very serious, we can find the ridiculousness. You know, we can find the humor in it. But of course, there are some subjects that.
Oh hell yeah!
You know, you just got to keep it real, and you know, there's no humor involved whatsoever. We've definitely dealt with those stories as well.
And also, it also has something to do with maybe like we're human too, just like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that watches this show, and I don't feel the same from day to day.
Nah,
and that's
that's
just a
true.
natural kind
That's
of
true.
human fluctuation of emotion. So when y'all see us on this show, it's like you're getting like. Sometimes I will try to turn it on because we do have a show, but sometimes I'm just not in the mental
Not feeling
space
it, yeah.
to like exhibit certain like certain expressions and some at any given point. Sometimes I'm just like I'm not even feeling it. Like nah, this ain't funny.
Nah, that's true. I mean, and there are some things that, and I've admitted that on the show before too. I mean, whether it's somebody unarmed being killed by the police, whether it's another school shooting or something like that, that can completely change my mood. And I won't be in that kind of happy-go-lucky or just treating things like I can find the humor in them on the show, just because, like Mike was saying, we're dealing with human emotions and we're all affected by life. So, but like I said, we try to do our best to. Give the audience a good time while, trying to inform them. So I'm glad that you do, appreciate it.
And yeah, I'm glad you appreciate our show and the perspectives that we offer. And that's mainly because we try to stay in our lane.
That's right.
Definitely.
We don't try to go outside the lane. And if we don't have the information about a particular subject, first of all, it's likely that we're not going to talk about it. And second of all, if we do, we will let you know that we don't have all the information.
And usually if we're talking about something we're not quite informed on, it's usually like at the end of the show where some other subject comes up and we're just kind of like on like just shooting the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I enjoy it. I'll tell you. I used to be hardcore Republican. Being from Georgia, it's kind of what you're bred into.
Right.
And kind of went to Libertarian for a little while. And then with Bernie in 2016, man, I was kind of leaning towards him because, like, if you look at some of the, like, the I side with thing that you can do with all the opinions and stuff. And I did that, and it was Bernie was on top, and then Gary Johnson was second. And I was, like I said, I was Libertarian for a while, so I voted for Gary, but I was really leaning towards Bernie until the DNC just totally screwed him over. And I was not fixing to vote for Hillary. There was no way in the world I would vote for Hillary. So I went ahead and voted Libertarian again. But this time, my views have changed a little bit more towards the left side, towards like the progressive side. And now, man, I'm a full 100% Bernie.
Bernie bro.
I donated as much as I can, just as much as I can be.
Yeah.
Where I live at, you don't put stickers and shit on your car. Somebody's gonna bust your window.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. On that.
I'd rather not pay for a windshield. That way I can donate that money to Bernie instead.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I love you guys. I wanted to call and just let you know you got a guy in Georgia. Used to be a Republican, hardcore, who just loves you guys, man. I appreciate y'all, and I do appreciate y'all's outlook. Because a lot of my friends do work for us and whatnot. I generally hang around black people just regardless. So hearing you guys' opinion on a lot of things helps me to talk with my black friends about the way that you guys would see it versus how I would see it. Because like I said, I was raised Republican anyways.
Right.
So, some of you guys' opinions help me with my friends trying to get them more towards our side of things. So that's another reason why I love you guys' show. And I try to catch it live every week. Sometimes I can't, but if I can, I always go back and watch it just because, like I said, I enjoy you guys' show so much.
Well, man, look, it's a lot of appreciation from us, man. Very humble. We're not used to all the commendation and all that. But we definitely appreciate when what we do is reciprocated. It's appreciated by the audience. So. Just can't tell you, how good it is to hear, and glad that you called, and very good talking with you tonight.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys. Y'all have a great evening, and I'll talk to y'all again sometime.
All right, Duke. Take care of yourself, bro.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys.
So I ain't heard of this, but Jason from Detroit, he bringing up something in the chat concerning Biden. Something he said about look fat, and what's the context of that? I haven't heard about this look fat comment.
Let's see.
Have you?
Nah, I don't think so.
Look fat, or is it look comma fat, or look fat, or is it look fat? Like what?
I saw something. The only thing I saw, well, I don't know if Jason was trying to call him, but we don't have any more time. We're out of time. I saw something earlier today, and Fox News was reporting on it. It was a event, a campaign event that he was at, and somebody, there was a guy that was, I guess, going at him and saying that I think he was too old to be in the race, and some other things as well that I couldn't make out. I couldn't, like, this, I just couldn't make out what it was unintelligible. I couldn't tell. So I don't know if that's what he's referencing or not. It's most likely that. But that would be, this was at least the third time where Biden has some, you can call it a negative exchange with somebody at one of his events, and he has some type of kind of angered reaction where he's saying something, maybe insulting them, something like that. It doesn't look good.
I'm all for it. I'm here for it. Keep on fucking up. Keep on fucking up. He's just been that guy.
Okay. Jason said that the guy said Hunter Biden got his job because of Joe Biden.
Yeah, accept that. Hell yeah. Like, accept that shit. You know you gotta fail, son. Like, come on. Like, accept that. Just come out and be like, yeah, man, hook him up. Because he got a job like that before. That wasn't his first job he got. Like, because of Biden. Just accept that shit, man. Like, come on, man. I remember didn't he say like a couple weeks ago in regard to supporting Me Too, we gotta keep punching at domestic violence?
Yeah, he did say something like that.
I was like,
that's the wrong kind of adjective you want, or that's not a verb, but that's the wrong kind of word choice. You don't want to say punching as a result to solve domestic violence. Oh man. Jason also said, it's honestly perplexing to me that this stream isn't more popular. It's almost like you're blacklisted by YouTube.
Blacklisted?
Look, man.
Was that a pun intended?
I honestly don't understand it myself. We've been around for some time, and we built a following going back to 2016. And it grew. It definitely grew in 2016. It definitely grew. We took some time off in 2017, but we came back strong. 2017, like
bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah, it was August 2017. Started the live show. We've been doing it ever since. So that it hasn't really grown too much, since then is
it went through a spurt. We did a spurt, and then it kind of leveled out.
Yeah, it's disappointing. So I don't know exactly what's preventing more success, what's preventing more viewership, especially given the live the live environment, having more people here for the live show. Like I said, we're trying to do what we can, trying to put content out on YouTube, trying to kind of split the content so it's more easily digestible, trying to be more visible on Twitter as well. We've mentioned how we're trying to do that. Damn it didn't save. I gotta go do it again. Anyway, because I was gonna put the Twitter handles on there, but anyway, I gotta do it again. But anyway, yeah, like I said, we're trying to do what we can. Let me make sure this is,
because it says green. It says we're green, but
I just see that that circle turning. Might just be my this computer.
Oh, the chat's coming up.
Yeah, just make sure that we ain't just talking to ourselves.
Okay, it's still
okay.
green.
Yeah, okay,
right.
Here we go. But yeah, like I said, I mean, we're trying to do what we can. We definitely want more involvement. Definitely want more of an audience. So we'll try to keep doing what we do. Maybe coming up with new ways to increase viewership. If you have any ideas too, I mean, feel free to, pump us full of suggestions, maybe things that you would like to see. We're all ears. We're definitely receptive to ideas.
I don't know who mentioned it. Somebody in the chat. I wish I can go back up and see, but mentioned something about, it's probably lower. I don't know. Maybe it's higher. But somebody mentioned something about Andrew Yang and whipped cream. I did not see this.
Nah, that
should I look it up?
Doesn't ring a bell to me.
I haven't seen anything about.
Doesn't seem like I want to look that up.
So you said Andrew Yang whipped cream. Is it worse than him doing karaoke? I saw that shit. That was nice. You know, whatever.
Apparently he dances.
Like what?
Like at, I don't know, like post rallies or something like that.
I don't care about that. That's fine.
It's like something big, maybe, or something like that. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
that's cool. I mean, that's
seen
cool.
it.
I ain't got no
haven't
problem
seen
with
it.
that. Like, as long as it's just like a part of an event and it's not like some stupid ass booty jig, like a booty bounce, a booty bop.
I don't want to see that.
Or a booty boogaloo.
Yeah, I don't want to see none of that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's not like that.
Lisa.
Well, he did do.
That was enough pain.
He did do the chocolate thing, the challenge, Choco challenge. He did that live.
That was.
It's still up on YouTube. You gotta go look it up.
Painful.
It's funny. I had a lot of fun on that.
Dude, that was.
I had fun.
Nah, I ain't have no fun, man. But yeah, I told you, I thought it was gonna be traumatic to go back and watch it. It was actually funny. But I thought I was dying. Thought my life was going to end on camera. And I've always had a thing about not dying a stupid death. I've always had a thing. I don't want to die a stupid death, not a stupid death. And I almost died a stupid death based on my own stupid actions. Not doing that again. All right, and again, I have to say I'm playing. I forgot what was it? What was the company?
Yeah, damn. I can't remember the company.
But yeah, I want to get.
Because before they did, like the one chip challenge.
It wasn't them.
It wasn't them.
No, it wasn't them.
So it was like a totally different company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
I can't remember the name of the company. But yeah, I'm playing. Yeah, that was not comfortable. So okay, yeah, let's go to the super chat. Let's go to super chat. Artificial Morphous Men. Oh no, hold up. There's one. No, there's a lot before that. All right, Calvin Darden, who we heard from, I believe, on the last show. Great show. Thank you very much for your contribution, Calvin. We really appreciate that, no doubt. D Scully got the fist bump.
Appreciate.
Haven't seen that before. What is that? Is that a chicken? What is that? A bird? What is that? Is that a bird? Some kind of bird? A pear?
It looked like a bird and a pear mixed. It looks like a bird and a pear, like mixed with a headband.
Yeah. And some kind of leaf on his head or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's one of those new super stickers. Yeah, super stickers. D Scully again with the crying emoji. 8:30 p.m. I don't know what that was about.
I don't know, what was we doing? What were we talking about at 8:30?
Artificial Amorphous Men, who did call in tonight, again, Christopher Harris drops out. Bernie is in number 1 in Cali, and the MSM is all quiet. Small troll tears. I think Bernie's going to win. Millions of kids will vote. I also saw another poll earlier today as well, and it was a college poll, I believe, and Bernie was up 7 percentage points, I believe, and he's number 1 now. I believe before Biden was in first place, and Warren might have been in second place. I'm not sure exactly, but Biden definitely was in first. But now Bernie is in first place. Trump is in second place. Warren is in third place. And I believe Biden is in fourth place. Yeah. So again, more good news for Bernie. D Scully again with the shades. My son likes shades, man. He loves shades, man. Got to have the shades on, man. If he doesn't have the shades on, he's got a problem. Seriously. I'm serious, man. Gear Randon, thank you. Silent contributor, man. Gear Randon, you don't hear nothing from Gear Randon, man. He's just there.
Silent
He's
contributor.
just there, man. But hey, Lots of love to you, Randy, man. Straight up. Lots of love. Jason from Detroit, have you considered doing guest spots on Humanist Report, Rational National, etc.? Also, what is Tulsi up to, like long-term guesses?
We're fairly new to this. I mean, just started putting out videos in 2016. So I think it was more important for us to kind of get our feet wet first and kind of get used to this. Like you mentioned those names, and I watch all of those individuals, and I've been watching those individuals since before we started. And I think when it
has Rational National been out that long?
I think
know Humanist Report.
Humanist Report,
sure
and what's the other one he mentioned?
Rational National.
I thought there was another one he mentioned, but anyway. But I think he Rational National started close to us, or like a little bit after. But when you're doing this, you got to be careful who you affiliate with.
Oh yeah.
I will say.
Yes,
let's just say we're not saying who. We will not say who.
Yeah, ain't gonna throw out no names.
Not gonna throw out no names. No names at all. But it was a particular individual was trying to tap us for his network. It was somebody
you just let the cat out the bag there. That said it. You already done said too much. You already done said too much. You already done said too much.
There's somebody who's trying to, like, hey man, what y'all, doing the whole
see,
how about
just how you acting too. This Mike ain't being coy at all. But yeah, that happened. That happened. I was never for that.
So you got So I think as of now, I think I'm probably more confident in maybe choosing someone to I guess coordinate with in that regard. I'm more comfortable because I know who's who.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I've had
true. There's a longer track record now, and this and that.
Sometimes you gotta feel people out. Feel people out based on what's going on. Because sometimes you don't know what's in people, and people's character until certain things go down.
Yeah,
certain situations come up.
Mike from Humanist Report, man.
I love that dude, man.
That's
I love that dude.
And had a few dealings with him. We never got together for collaboration or anything like that. We did discuss it, and this was some time ago when we actually discussed it. It never happened. But nah, I love that dude. He creates just awesome content. He is extremely informed. He educates his audience. He is entertaining as well. I mean, he's the full package, straight up. Nothing but love for that guy, man. Rational National, I never had any direct communication with him, but similarly, he creates very good content as well. He seems to dot his I's, crosses his T's, So those are two quality individuals, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jason, on Ben's part. I listen to Ben's podcast too, but like you said, when he uploads to YouTube, it's just the audio. I remember he used to, upload videos, but I think maybe that has to do with other obligations. He's probably real busy. Because I remember one time, one of the last ones I listened to, he was recording from his sister's bedroom or something. So he's probably at his sister's house, probably during the holidays. So yeah, so.
I remember we saw Ben in Philly in 2016 at the DNC, at the Democratic National Convention. And
I was like, yo, dog, what up? You know what I'm saying? I was
because
like,
that doesn't come across on video.
I was like, I had to go down and give some dap. I was like, yo. I was like, dang.
It's interesting to meet people in person.
Yeah, I was like,
whoa.
Including, never mind, I ain't even gonna go there.
Nah, see, you don't even do that. Helicopters is no. See, you're gonna make me spill the beans and shit. But nah, y'all know, Ben. We've had at least me. I just very. it's just been very
in passing.
Yeah, in passing.
Yeah, in passing.
Sporadic.
I follow him on Twitter. He follows me. Sometimes we'll
we follow each other.
I actually sent him some messages, but it was more like because there was a story he was personally connected to.
Right.
Remember the dude that got killed by police?
Right.
And
That was in
Florida.
yeah.
He's like he was a part of a church band.
Right.
And he had he knew him personally, and like when the story came out, like the dude cops got sentenced or whatever.
Yeah.
I just sent that story to him. You know what I'm saying? So it was like it's not really a lot of like personal type level interaction, just kind of like here, passing.
But yeah, those are. I mean, like I said, those are. I guess people I've had. You know, we've had contact with other people. I'm not gonna name those people because these are not people that, you know, I would collaborate with, or
it'd be too much trouble.
Yeah. I mean, look, man.
Too much trouble, man.
There have been
volatile, toxic / inconsistent /
yeah,
a little,
there have
wishy-washy.
Been attempts. There have been attempts by more than one. Okay, and you like Mike said, you gotta really think about who you're getting in bed with. And it's not that serious, but still, because whatever you are is gonna be linked to whatever that person is. And if you are about some real stuff and that other person or that other channel is selling some bullshit and you link up with that, I mean, I don't know how you're always going to have that link, and that's always going to be a stain on your reputation. So unless you're there to push back. Unless you're there to push back.
See what Jason's trying to do, right? He ain't slick. See, now we gotta look at the damn video.
Yeah, now we gotta look at it.
Now we gotta look at the damn video.
I have no idea what you're talking about,
He
Jason.
probably already knows how we gonna react.
Yeah, I don't know what
he probably already knows how we gonna react.
We'll see what it is. Snork Y2K, here's a tip to buy your cameraman a new hat. Okay, invisible nobody.
I know, right?
Yeah, don't have a cameraman. Forget camera. No, there's one position.
Oh no, yeah. Like
maybe two. I want all this gone from us. I want all this gone. Somebody to produce the show. I want all this gone, right? Produce the show. I want that. And then also, I guess I could. You know what? I could. We need a researcher, but I could do it because we research. I could do it out there because we ain't big time, so I can still do that. Editing, and good too. You got to be good. You got to be good. You got to know your stuff, man. Not to say that we're all professionals now. We know exactly how to do this and that, and we know the toppest. The top line type. I mean, look, we don't know everything about editing videos. We don't even use the most
sophisticated
type of software. Most expensive. The most options and things. No, we absolutely do not. So, I'm just saying the way we cut them. There's a particular type of thing that we try to do. So you got to be good. I mean, you just got to be good. But that would be one thing that I would love for that to be taken away from, our responsibility. I would love that to be taken away from us. But that might be somewhere down the road. And again, that all of this depends on viewership. I mean, that's really where it's at. It's viewership, and by viewership, of course, that lends us more money so that we can actually involve other people. So that's why we try to get viewership up. So we'll just keep trying. Let's see. Again, artificial Morphous Man. If the DNC cheats Bernie again, I'm going to Costa Rica. So you're going up there with Gene. Let's build a farm and community. I ain't never been to Costa Rica, but Gene makes it seem like it's a trip worth having.
I know.
We're worth taking. So, Jason.
Pretty
again.
tempting. That's tempting.
do the Yang Cream video. Don't know what that means. Hope I didn't say something explicit. I don't even know what I said, you know.
Yang
I don't know
cream. Yang
Yeah.
cream sounds like something you apply.
Yeah. I ain't even, whatever. I don't even. Trudy. Good to hear from you, Trudy. You guys are wise, not wise guys.
But
and damn, I can't see what these Scully.
yeah, you sent us a super sticker, but we can't see it because it cuts
Okay, there
off.
we go. Oh, it's the chicken / pear.
The chicken / pear with a headband.
With a headband and a leaf or chicken, whatever. With the thumbs up. With the thumbs up.
It's like if Richard Simmons was a oddly shaped teal-colored chicken.
If Richard Simmons got kind of beefy, didn't he? Didn't this one beef up?
Beef up like.
I think he did, right?
Wait, beef up like.
Yeah.
Or like.
No, got.
Oh, word?
I think he did.
That'd be weird.
I think he did. Why do I want to say that?
Can't
Because
be
I can't.
Brit.
I want to say he kind of got a little. Yeah.
That would be weird.
I want to say he did.
That would be weird. That'd just be weird. His personality, how he expresses himself.
Yeah.
Almost like when Carrot Top got buff.
Yeah,
that was weird
that
to
was
me.
strange,
When Carrot
man.
Top got buff, I was like, oh, it's weird.
Let me see. I gotta research this now, man. I gotta research Richard Simmons, dog. I want to say he got a little
stocky.
Nah. Oh my gosh, dog. These pictures. These pictures. Maybe not.
No, you might be talking about somebody else.
Yeah, man. Let's stop. Let's stop. Tay Ray, #1 fan. Oh, we got a #1 fan over here. Got a #1 fan. Already claimed it, so everybody else, sorry.
Official.
Yeah, Tay Ray says he's he, her, I don't know what, but still, Tay Ray is #1 fan.
Damn, of course. Of course, it auto-completes Jason. So look it up on Twitter. As soon as I typed in Yang C.
Yang Cream.
As soon as I said Yang
his supporters is trending.
Oh, please. Oh, hell no. Don't tell me it's some like, nah, it can't be. I'm hoping. Man, where is it at? Yang squirts cream. Yep, I knew it. As soon as you said something about his supporters. Oh, hell nah. Oh, hell nah. Wait. Oh, hell no.
Why?
Yo.
Why?
Okay, it's fun.
That's some cult that shit right there. That's some.
He's celebrating the opening of a new campaign office with shots of whipped cream.
No, that's a bad move. That's a bad move.
Because you can take that a lot of different places.
Yeah, of course. That's a bad move. Man, people are up for anything, man.
Hold
People
up.
are up for anything.
There it is right here.
Is a video?
It's video.
Oh, please don't let there be a video. Why?
Go ahead, Yang. Go ahead, Andy. Straight in my mouth. Go ahead. Do it. And then you get on your knees and he squirts whipped cream in your mouth.
And you're on your knees?
And you're on your knees.
Oh, come on, man. Stop
Thank you, Andy.
Stop it, man. Come on, man. I don't know why we're doing that. All right. Artificial morphous men and Gent. Man, I'm man. Because I want to say artificial morphs. Anyway, artificial morphous man. I believe that means if Bernie doesn't win, we are food. That is purposeful. The food. That's purposeful. Yeah, man. I mean, look, we're at a point where, we need to completely screech. Come to a screeching halt and try to turn the damn thing around. At least try. It keeps going way too far. Way too far. We're not making any progress. Look, this whole Trump thing too, man. Look, forget the impeachment proceedings. Forget all that for just a moment. Next year is going to be another year since the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act had been passed. There's already reports about this economy being a bubble, and the bubble is going to explode. Now, it might not be as bad as what we saw in, 2007,
2006,
2008.
2006,
in that period of
2007,
time.
yeah.
But there's a lot of bubble properties going on. There's a lot of bubble properties going on. And so the raw numbers, this data that is suggesting that this economy is moving so well, and that I mean it's just doing so well. We're a beacon for the world because of this economy. That's not being felt by real people. That's not being felt by just the regular people in this nation. When the middle class is strong, that's when you have a strong economy. And I don't care who it is. If anybody's selling you the idea that the middle class is strong, they're lying to you. They're absolutely lying to you. So until we get to that reality, all of these numbers, all of these proclamations about how this economy is doing well, man, it's not real. It's absolutely not real. So again, 2020, we're gonna see how this economy is doing. It's not that long away. Tax time is coming. Pain is coming. Pain is coming. All right, got another super chat. I guess when we stay on long enough, man. People just contributing, man. Thank you for all of the love. Jason, I said I would match super chats if you played Yang video. Here you go. Please post that clip on YouTube. It'll get you some views. I'll also do my best to promote you guys. Also, maybe try Twitch. Yeah. Again, yeah, we talked about Twitch on the last show, and we do have a feed running on Twitch right now. And shoot, you know what? Let me check it, because I bet you there's only like 0 or 1 person watching. Because Twitch is like Twitch is still a gaming platform. They are, I hear that people are saying that they're trying to switch to not only a gaming platform or more like a news commentary type of platform, things like that. That may be true. It doesn't feel as though it has caught on as of yet, because I have not seen anything. Really, the only thing that I have seen that gets any traction on Twitch to this day is still gaming. So, I don't know.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that. Oh, I didn't see that part. This dude had a mouthful, and it was like coming out, and it fell out. And he had to catch it on his wrist. Then he put it back in his mouth.
You're having too much fun with this now. You said he put it back? Come on, stop it, man. Stop it.
He put it back in his mouth.
Stop it.
And swallowed.
See, you added that.
He swallowed. I'm just giving commentary based on what the video shows. Damn. Gotta be accurate. I gotta be accurate. Come on.
Okay, man. So it says we have 1 viewer on Twitch right now.
It's probably you.
I haven't gone into it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it says we have 1 viewer. So, hello, whoever that viewer is on Twitch. Thank you for watching.
Whoever you are, appreciate the view.
Appreciate you, because if you watch it on Twitch, man, you might be a loyal follower right there, boy. Straight up. Twitch, or maybe you just came across it. I don't know. But anyway, damn, I forgot there was a football game on tonight.
Oh, true that. Cowboys?
Yeah, I completely forgot.
I did see that when I went on Twitter. Somebody was talking about it.
See, this is what happens when there's an impeachment hearing yesterday that lasts till 7 whatever o'clock at night, and then you got to do editing and you got to get prepared for the show. Everything else, man, I don't even know what's going on. And also tonight, I don't know if it's going on. No, I don't know if it's over yet. Let's say I don't know if it's over yet. But Nancy Pelosi was holding a town hall.
Oh, yeah.
That was on CNN, and it was to, I guess, respond to questions about the impeachment proceedings. So I don't know how that went. I don't know if it's still going on as of right now.
Whoa. How you did Chicago? Chicago is beating you by 17? Chicago, how you let Chicago? Is Mitch Trubisky playing? He must not be playing. He must not be the quarterback. Can't be. I don't believe it.
He got 3 touchdowns. Yeah, he's a quarterback.
Yo. Poor Cowboys fans. Poor Cowboys fans.
Anyway, all right. Let's get up out of here, man. We're about to get up out of here. So
And they have the ball.
Approaching 11 p.m. We do appreciate everybody that joined us for this program tonight, Thursday, December 5th. My gosh, man, I'll be losing dates in my head. That's the one thing that I be losing sometimes. Names, all of that, all this information. Got it right here at the forefront, but dates, like, man. But yeah, we appreciate everybody. Thank you to all our callers tonight. And that was Christopher, Ben, Phil, and Duke. See? Names is good. I used to be horrible at names. Which I assume there are a lot of people too. It's just because you don't put a priority on it. If you put a priority on that information, telling you. Anyway, what else? Shout out to all of our patrons on patreon.com. Thank you very much. The lifeblood of LTMB. One thing I wish that I had more time to do was write. Remember when we used to write articles?
Oh, yeah.
I wish I did have some more time to write some articles, man. But, I try to do what I can, man. But maybe sometime. But anyway, everybody have a good weekend, a lovely weekend. Hope you have some bit of enjoyment or whatever, however you choose to settle down, relax for a minute. I hope you get to do that. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if there's anything on tap for this weekend specifically. I don't have anything in mind. As usual, nothing is ringing a bell. Do you? Nothing. Next week, I don't have nothing. Next week, nothing. Anything? No.
True that. The next debate is coming up real quick.
I think it's the 19th.
19th. That's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. But next week though is the end of the period
that
to which they can
qualify.
Use the polls.
Ooh, I think
on
Tosi and Yang will make it. I think if Booker doesn't make it, I think he's gonna drop out.
Yeah, I think he'll drop out. I think he'll drop out. Also, Tom Steyer can make it.
True that.
Tom Steyer can make it too. So we'll see what happens. All right. Again, appreciate everybody that joined us, and please join us next week as well. This is it for LTMB for tonight's show. Peace out. Love you all. We're out of here.